Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
Your weekly dose of romance and drama has arrived. Season 29 of The Bachelor is here, and Grant Ellis, certified hottie and former day trader, is trading his day job on Wall Street for a second chance at everlasting love. New episodes drop every Monday at 8/7 Central, bringing you fresh twists in Grant's journey to find his soulmate. This self-proclaimed mama's boy is all grown up and ready to invest his heart. Will his playful charm win over the house full of hopefuls, or will the competition prove too intense? From heartfelt moments to adrenaline-pumping dates, each week brings new surprises in the mansion. Will Grant find his perfect match or end up with a broken heart? Tune in every Monday at 8/7 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu for new episodes of The Bachelor.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. I'm James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us this week. Do we have insanity for you this week?
I don't know. Do you?
We do.
Okay.
It's wild. It's crazy. I'm telling you guys, a few weeks ago, we had a week off. Every few months, we take a week off of Crime and Sports, and it's to charge our batteries to come back with insanity. And we came back with OJ and goddamn Lenny Dykstra, and this week is no different. It's just insanity. It's a wrestler.
Right.
So whenever we're dipping into the brain damage sports, you know that it's going to be good. And our wrestling episodes are top notch.
They're so much fun.
They're just the most fun, and they seem to be people's favorites too. So it's going to be a blast today. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything this week, by the way. All of you, everything that you do for us, all of your reviews this week, iTunes, the purple icon, Apple Podcasts, that thing on your phone there. Thank you so much for those. Give us 5 stars if you haven't done it yet. Doesn't matter what you say. It's not for our ego or anything like that. So tell us you're following instructions, following directions. That would be wonderful. It really helps drive us up the charts. We don't know why that's how the charts work, but
we don't
do it. It's not we don't run Apple Podcasts, so I don't really want to either.
No.
But if we did, it wouldn't matter as much, but it does. So help drive us up the charts. That'd be great. Also, you can go to shutupandgivememurder.com, where you can get all of your Crime and Sports t-shirts and merchandise and mugs and bath mats and everything. That's all right there. Also, tickets to live shows. Full slate of Small Town Murder live shows till the end of the year. And if you don't listen to Small Town Murder, I don't know why you would do that. I don't know why you would not listen to Small Town Murder if you listen to this. You're out of your mind. So listen to Small Town Murder if you're not. But yeah, full slate of live shows. But the important thing for this show, October 19th, Phoenix, Arizona, at CB Live. Live show, Crime and Sports.
So great.
It's going to be amazing. So get there. I don't think they're on sale yet. I don't know what's going on. Break their balls. CB Live in Phoenix, break their balls and tell them, hey, give us my damn tickets. And
let me purchase tickets.
They'll put them on sale. We trust us. So they're going to go on sale very soon. But do all of that. That would be wonderful. Also, if you want to be even a hero, we're going to go out, we're just going to say it, hero, people that we love really more than anything, and we're going to gush about later on at the end of the show, our producers. If you would like to be one of these people, super easy to do. You just go to patreon.com/crimeandsports or head over to PayPal and use our email address, which is crimeandsports@gmail.com. And you can get to both of those links from where, Jimmy?
Over there at shutupandgivememurder.com.
That's right. You got it on the money. So thank you for everybody that does that. Every damn dime is really, really appreciated, and helps keep us really energized to do an insane show like this. And this week it's going to be crazy, Jimmy. It's a wrestler. It's a wrestling episode. We're going to have fun. Damn it! Let's do this.
Okay.
Let's check him out. Let's talk about, we'll see if you know the name. Well, you won't know his real name. Richard Van Slater.
Nope.
No, you don't know who he is. How about Dirty Dick Slater?
No. Is that real?
That's real. That's
Dirty Dick.
Dirty Dick Slater.
He went by Dirty Dick.
Dirty Dick Slater.
Oh,
well, it's wrestling, so you need a little alliteration.
Well, but naming yourself after
Dirty Dick Slater
over the prank of your boss's coffee cup.
Yeah, Dirty Dick Slater is that's not good.
You dirty dick somebody's coffee. That's when you rub your cock around the rim.
That's also if your dick is not clean. Dirty dick over here. So either way, not terrific here.
No.
Dirty Dick Slater he goes by, and he's a tough son of a bitch, old Dirty Dick Slater. They always, when your name's Dirty Dick, you're expecting a level of toughness.
This was prior to televised.
Fuck no. This is in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
The man was on TV as Dirty Dick.
In the 80s. And probably in the South when he was on those, I'm sure, because they used to.
Oh my God!
Wrestling used to be on like some of the Christian broadcasting back then. So I guarantee you, somewhere in the South, he was broadcast on a Christian broadcasting network as Dirty Dick Slater. Guaranteed.
But let's not look at Janet Jackson's nipple with the nipple ring around it.
Dirty Dick. Bleeding from the forehead.
The words "dirty dick" on their screen.
Dirty dick's bleeding from the head. Those words have been said before by God-fearing people.
Wow, this is incredible.
That's that. And this guy, like I said, to carry the name Dirty Dick, you got to be a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or a dirty one.
Or a dirty son of a bitch. Either way. But they always talk about wrestlers. They always say, who's the toughest guys in real life? And it's always Andre the Giant is always on the list because, he's a fucking giant and he could crush your head. And Haku, or was Ming later on, he's always like, he ripped a guy's eyeball out. Right. That was like, they said that was his move in a bar fight.
It's a hell of a move.
Was to pop your eyeball out of your head. He bit half a guy's nose off.
That's a handicap. That's not a move. That's ruining somebody's life.
Haku is so tough that when the SWAT team came to get him after this incident, when he was in the hotel lobby, they negotiated him coming out with one of the other wrestlers. They're like, well, let's talk about it because we're going to have to shoot him because he's going to kill us all probably otherwise. So,
or at least take half of our eyes.
That's the thing. The eyes and noses and not a guy to be trifled with. And always Dick Slater's always on the list.
Unbelievable.
And it's weird because Andre's a giant and Haku is a Fijian. So that's like another level of,
size, right?
Just I don't know what it is about the island folk, not to generalize, but there's some tough fucking people. They're just tough.
Well, there's a lot of them to take the brunt of the force. They are just the mass. You
ever see a Samoan's ankle?
They're giant.
It's fucking It's like, wow, you can't hurt that person. His ankle is as big as my fucking calf. He silly.
Walks on railroad ties.
Yeah, this is silly. But Dick Slater is not. He's just a white dude who's a tough son of a bitch somehow. He's born May 19th, 1951, so he's an older guy now. Yeah. We'll talk about him. He's born one of 7 kids, so it's a big family, I would say here. He's got 3 brothers and 3 sisters, 3 brothers, one of 8 kids, apparently, because he's got 4 half-sisters and 3 brothers. Okay. So George, Russell, and Jimmie, and then Nancy, Donna, Sandra, and Catherine. Did Donna go by Dirty Donna Slater? Dirty Donna Slater coming at you right there. Dirty Dick. So he's born in Albany, New York, but he moves down his whole family moves down to Florida. His mother and his stepfather, I guess, moved down to Tampa when he was 9. So he ends up really growing up in Florida. That was Florida was a real wrestling hotbed back in the 60s and 70s. And it really, as far as training goes, a lot of guys started in Florida. Okay. A lot of inordinate amount of guys in the 80s that were in wrestling that were from Florida or Minneapolis. Like that's because those were the places where they trained. So it was just one of those things. Whoever was around got trained. Whoever was around played some college football. They'd end up being trained here. So he started wrestling in high school in 1968. So he was an amateur guy. Started wrestling on the same team as Mike Graham, who is his father. Eddie Graham was the guy who owned the Florida territory.
Got it.
So Mike Graham was like the Shane McMahon of Florida.
So he's like ingrained in it.
Yeah, his dad was in it. He was going to be a wrestler. He was wrestling in high school. And then there's a lot of stories about Mike Graham when he was in high school, because he was taught by his dad how to really kind of break people down. So when new people wanted to be in the business, and I want to be a wrestler, they'd usually, back in the day, they'd basically beat the living shit out of you. Oh, you want to be a wrestler? Cool. They'd put you in the ring with someone who really knows how to tie people up, and they'd hurt you and then send you home. Right. And if you came back the next day, they'd be like, okay,
you're in.
Maybe you
For now.
Yeah. Like Hulk Hogan, when he first came in, Hiro Matsuda broke his leg day one. Just snapped his ankle. Put him in a hold, snapped his ankle on purpose, and was like, have a good one, asshole. Take a fucking hike. And then he came back in 6 weeks when it healed up, and they were like, okay, well, maybe you really want to do this. Right. It was to see if you wanted to do it or not. But Mike Graham, as a kid, used to be, they'd throw him in the ring with him and have some kid beat the shit out of you and be like, well, yeah, see what happens? You don't know what you're doing. Even that kid can kick your ass. You don't want to do this. So, yeah, they apparently, I don't know how true this is. I know this is probably true. Eddie Graham, Mike Graham's father, purchased the wrestling mat for this high school, Robinson High School in Tampa, Florida. And they say that he was the one that started the wrestling program there. But it's 1968. I feel like there's probably a wrestling program there.
It probably existed.
Right. Slater says no. Slater says, quote, there had never been a high school wrestling program in the state of Florida.
What? That doesn't sound right.
In the late 60s?
It's an awfully big state.
Come on. Yeah, that seems never an amateur program. Just no, sorry, we don't wrestle down here.
Not
only with gators.
Right.
Not with people.
Catfish and gators.
I'll
That's all we
wrestle.
wrestle.
I'll wrestle them right out of a hole in the damn side of a swamp wall. I don't give a shit about that. So he said what happened is that Eddie Graham, who was a promoter here in Florida, Championship Wrestling, and Don Curtis, who was the promoter in Jacksonville, bought a wrestling mat for Robinson High School and actually started the high school wrestling program. I don't know if that's true or if they just refurbished the equipment.
Seems outlandish, and seems just like a real high, bold claim.
It's very wrestling.
Yeah.
It's very wrestling. That's what it is. It's a very...
Fishing and wrestling.
Yeah. We
stories.
never even had a whole state of Florida, never heard of wrestling. Never once. Put somebody in a headlock and say, what the hell are you doing, boy? I don't know what's happening.
Throw fists like a man.
What now? You want me to get on my knees and you're going to get behind me? In a mounting position?
I've seen this game before.
I don't think so, son.
I know how this story ends.
Yeah, thank you.
I know the name of that tune. That tune ends with pain.
And it ain't in my limbs from a stretching hold. It's in my butthole from a bigger stretching. That's what it is. That's how it works. So, yeah, he starts wrestling. He's a good wrestler. He also plays football in high school, too, as a lot of the guys did back then. And, good competition in Florida. Florida's a lot of NFL players come out of Florida. So football is always, because you can play all the time.
All year long.
You can always, I know football is played in the cold, but less. If it's nice out, you generally are outside playing more.
Much easier to get better when you're warmed up.
Yeah, that's why you see all the baseball players that are American come out of California and Florida. And they're like, why does that happen? Gee, I don't know, because they can fucking play there in December. That's why. They're not inside going, oh, well, I guess I'll play baseball again in 5 months. Jesus Christ. So he ended up wrestling after high school. Dick ends up wrestling in the AAU program, which is kind of a pre-Olympic program kind of thing. Like Iron Sheik was an AAU champion.
Got it.
It's an amateur wrestling. So a lot of times they would train guys as they were going into the Olympics, or kind of a pre thing to the Olympics.
Okay.
So he says, quote, I wanted to try to get into the Olympics at that time. Then I went to the University of Tampa and got on the wrestling team there. Plus I was on the football team, so it was pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Which I would say doing...
The University of Tampa is a powerhouse.
Doing two sports. So we'll talk about their football team in a second. He said he played middle linebacker in high school and also played some fullback. He said not running with the ball, but blocking. He was a good blocker because he's a fucking lunatic, as we'll find out later on. He says in college it was 2-a-day practices, and sometimes it was 2 football practices and then wrestling practice after that.
Fuck, man.
So 3 in a row. Yeah, do a 2-a-day and then do wrestling practice, which is basically run around in the heat. Yeah, because it's just trying to kill your make you lose weight.
Sure.
Which I think that's what 2-a-day football practice in the Florida heat will probably do also.
In the first place, yeah.
It'll do it. Yeah. So yeah, he goes to the University of Tampa, plays football. Among the people there at this time on the football team were Paul Orndorff, who's Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, very famous wrestler, who was again, another tough son of a bitch. This must have been a really tough high school football team or college football team, because these are some badass son of a bitches. And John Matuzak.
Oh, no kidding.
Who was Sloth, for Christ's sake. And he played for the Raiders forever and is known as a giant lunatic, basically. And he's fucking Sloth. So he's a huge man. He's like 6'7", I think, 6'8", Matuzak. He's a big, stocky son of a bitch. So this is a crazy football team right away.
Already.
Nobody wants to fight this team here. He said about John Matuzak here, he said, they asked if he, in an interview, if he played with John Matuzak, and he said, quote, "I did. John was the smart guy of the football team, you know. I was in most classes, and he would take most of the exams for me."
That guy's the smart guy?
He's the smart guy, Matuzak. Which I've heard that about him, actually. I haven't seen an interview. He's just a articulate guy, and I think he's just a smart for the football team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure he wasn't the valedictorian.
No.
But he
spells some shit.
Yeah, for the football team, that meant he did his homework. Like, he's just smart. I don't know what. I seen him reading the other day. It was crazy. It was crazy. I didn't see any pictures, and I watched him turn pages. I was like, maybe here comes all the pictures here. It was describing next 5 pages, going to be all these pictures. That's a lot of words you need to describe 5 pages of pictures. And then it would flip to it, but more words.
More words.
Just more
all
words.
Words.
All words. All black and white. No color. No color, nothing on there.
Nothing highlighted.
Fucked up, man. No. I don't know about it. So, yeah, he played linebacker, and eventually the Tampa football program folds, but his timeline is a little off of when it folds. He says, it was this is why, because they asked him, why did the Tampa football program fold? Just the college said, no more football. And he says, it was an academic school, so they decided to close football there, so I decided not to play football anymore.
No, you didn't.
Which, I don't know how you decide something that doesn't exist.
I mean, they forced me to make that decision, so I made that decision.
You know what I've decided, Jimmy? I've decided, and it's for my health, really. It's not for any environmental shit or anything. I'm not going to eat any more unicorns.
No.
I've decided.
I've
decided I'm not going to eat any more unicorns. It's sad.
Horns.
It's fucking sad. That's what happens. It's like a coral reef in the Pacific, basically. It all builds up. Right. There's a plastic island and a unicorn horn island.
There's K-cups, and then there's unicorn horns.
I don't want to contribute to that. That's what I'm getting at. So I've decided not to eat unicorns anymore, just as he's decided not to play football.
Yeah.
So this is what he says is why he stopped playing football, because the football program closed, but he was gone from the school before the football program closed. So that doesn't line up at all, because he is done in football by 72, and I
folds up in 84.
I look. Not 84, but not 72 here. It's the University of Tampa, I guess, only had about 1,300 students in the early 70s, and the football program was putting a huge financial strain on the school.
Sure.
It's a fucking small school, and football programs are expensive. If you need 100 kids, it's like, you
need a bus.
8% of your student body is the football team, and you have to pay for everything and have them travel and all this shit. And I guess in 1975, the university president proposed dropping football, and finally they dropped football in 1976. So that was...
So 4 years later, he gave it up.
Yeah, that was it.
He left the college, and then 4 years later gave up football.
Yeah, that was it. Then he decided that once the... Because you know what? It was... Looking at it, he's like, you know what, man? I know I haven't played in 3 years, but my ex-college's team closing down.
Outside looking in, It
ain't good. The university revealed that the program ran a deficit of $200,000 in 1974, which is the equivalent of about $800,000 right now.
My Christ.
So it's running an $800,000 deficit on a small school. That's not tenable here.
I guess that makes sense.
They had to borrow over $750,000 from its endowment to subsidize football, because they moved to Division I, which was more expensive to do all the different shit they had to do. And they said the school was going to go bankrupt. So... And not only that, the Buccaneers were coming in the next year. So, now we're going to compete with a pro team. We're going to have less fans coming out. This isn't going to work here.
It's pretty fascinating. The most lucrative sport in college is buckling and ruining your school.
Yeah, just killing it. Well, now there's not enough kids to support it. Well, if you look at it like a normal school that has a shitload of kids, they can fill up a big chunk of the stadium with the student body. This is 1,300 people.
They'd have to go to every game. They'd still be broke.
There's only 1,200 minus the football team. Right. So if everybody goes, that's one little section behind the football team, basically. Section 51A is full, and then the rest of it's fucking wide open. No
That's
good.
pretty great.
So their last game was on November 11th, 1974, with a 35-10 win over Florida A&M.
How about that?
Yeah,
winning going out.
They didn't know they were going out.
Okay.
That was their last game, and they didn't know. All-time record of 201, 160, and 12. So
not awful.
Good team, just couldn't afford it. Yeah. That's all it was. So Slater says about this, quote, later I had a chance to go down and play for the Miami Dolphins, but I decided I needed to take care of my family instead. I had to earn my way. I needed to go to work.
What are you, an idiot?
Well, this is what I mean. The program stopped 2 years after I left, so I decided not to play anymore, even though...
Could play for the Dolphins, but you know what? Taking care of my family?
Yeah.
Priority number one.
Like the Dolphins don't pay money.
Right.
Last I checked, it's a paying gig, the Dolphins.
Maybe he didn't know that because in college he didn't make a paycheck.
Yeah, maybe
so
he was like,
you know, I'm not doing that shit for free.
He's like, football is just...
It's fucking expensive.
It
to
hurts
play that
and
sport.
it's expensive. They don't pay you anything there. So he says that, he's declined the opportunity, which makes no sense at all. I mean, maybe they invited him to training camp because he's a local kid from University of Tampa, and they probably invite a lot of people to training camp. That's how that works, especially in the 70s, I would think. But
I just think it's fascinating that he thinks that he can't go because he's got to take care of the family.
I got to take care of my family. That Dolphins down there, all those guys are starving. You heard about it back to Larry Zonka in the 70s, boy. He used to be panhandling after the games. He'd leave, he'd keep his shoulder pads on and shake that cup on the way out because he's like, they don't pay us for this shit.
I heard that Merker Morris is doing drugs and shit. I can't afford to get into that lifestyle.
That's tough, man. That perfect season, too. I mean, you have a perfect season. They said, please, may we have just a scrap of food? And they were all thrown off the facility, out of the facility, I hear, and told not to come back till next year. Right. So it's tough down there in Miami. So, he says about wrestling, though, he says he went to a national AAU met and Don Curtis was the referee, who was the partner of Eddie Graham in the Florida promotion.
Okay.
He said he made it to the finals and wrestled this one guy and lost, but it was a very close match. So he almost got through that, he said. I learned collegiately I was doing really well. You know, if I had a little bit more training and a little bit more experience, I could have won the national AAUs. So, could have won the national AAUs. Didn't really feel like playing for the Dolphins because, it doesn't pay anything. Right. And he decided not to play football because there was no football.
I like the way he looks at the world.
He's got a very, very interesting perspective on the world.
It's one way to just make yourself feel great every day.
He's like part Lenny Dykstra almost.
Yeah.
Like he's just, I'm going to figure out a way to turn this failure into not my fault and the fact that I decided to fail.
Take my failure, makes it a success.
Just make it a success. He says I was close, to being able to go to the Olympics at that point. I mean, I might have at least gone on a tryout basis. But anyway, Mike Graham, who was a good friend of mine, he asked me if I wanted to get into the business, wrestling business, obviously. Mm-hmm. I thought about it for a long time and finally said, what did you think about? It's either that or the Dolphins, and you've already turned that down because it's not lucrative enough. This is a job that someone's offering you. What fucking job are you looking for? Exactly.
Let me ask something. Does it pay?
Does it pay money?
Those Dolphins,
They're bullshit.
They're offering me shit, but not offering me shit.
They're trying to make me go down there and just run around chasing a football for nothing. That seems silly. So he ends up they take him to he goes to some matches at the Sportatorium in Tampa and basically starts training as a wrestler there. And there's a lot of the Florida guys trained him. Back then, Jack Briscoe, who was a legendary NWA champion and just one of the top 10 NWA guys in history. Basically, Jack Briscoe was a NWA champ for a long time. Him and his brother Jerry were a big tag team too. And Bob Roop down there, who we'll talk about him. Dick Slater had a little incident with Bob Roop. And Hiro Matsuda, who is the guy who broke Hulk Hogan's leg when he first showed up there as a legendary trainer. And Bill Watts, who we've talked about, Cowboy Bill Watts, who's the big guy who quit WCW by pissing off the balcony, basically.
That's a fucking epic way to quit.
He's like on the 30th floor, and he's like, I'll piss off it left a board meeting to walk out of the room to piss off the balcony just so he'd get fired. That's brilliant right there.
Balls.
And he got paid.
The dirty dick.
You pay me, you got to fire. You fire me, you got to pay me, fuckers.
That's a damn good point.
That's what he did. He's like, I ain't leaving for free.
You got a contract. That's beautiful. It's all in your best interest to just go piss them off.
It's the truth. There's so many stories. And piss on. Yeah. So many stories of wrestlers doing that, getting fired on purpose because they're going to have to get paid anyway if it's that kind of deal later on, like in the 90s. Fucking hilarious. So, he becomes good friends with Dick Murdoch, another Dick, who we'll talk about a little bit later here. Dick Murdoch is a fucking psycho, crazy person, good wrestler, and he had like the weirdest body. He's like a tall guy, but he had like this belly, and like skinny arms and like skinny legs, but he was really good in the ring, and he's a fucking redneck. I called him Captain Redneck.
Hell yeah.
And here's a story about Dick Murdoch. I'll give it to you now here. Story about Dick Murdoch and the level of redneckery we're discussing here. Dusty Rhodes and him used to be tag team partners. You know Dusty Rhodes, as I'm sure. Dusty Rhodes tells a story about how he's riding around with Dick Murdoch, and they're in Texas, and they're in Dick's pickup truck here, and they're driving around, and they don't know where, Dusty has no idea where crazy-ass Dick Murdoch's taking him. And Dick Murdoch is going down the road here, and he says, "Where are we going, buddy?" And Dick says, "Oh, we're just going to hang out with some fellas, just doing a little thing with some fellas here." And Dusty's like, well, what? And they get close, and Dusty's like, "Everybody got hoods on." He goes, "It's a damn Klan meeting. He took me to a Klan meeting." So Dusty, being not like a Klan member at all, and also at the time being a good guy, the American dream, Dusty Rhodes, he's like, "I can't be in a fucking Klan. Get the fuck out of here, man." He goes, "I dropped his ass off, took his truck, and drove the fuck out of there before anybody saw me." He's like, "I can't get in. People going to take a picture of me at a damn Klan meeting." He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, amazing, man?" So that's the kind of crazy fuck we're talking about here. An actual nutcase and pretty racist.
Sounds like it.
Way to
go, Murdoch.
Later on, Murdoch, while he was wrestling and working in an office, I think it was WWF in the early 90s, he was also a rep for Coors, and basically
Coors, like the beer, okay,
and had a card that allowed him to basically get as much free Coors as he wants wherever he goes, because he was the Coors guy. So basically, he would take all the wrestlers.
That's terrible.
They had to fire him because
bad plan.
He was going to kill the wrestlers because they'd take him out. He'd take all the wrestlers out, and it was unlimited beer, free. So these guys would be. They couldn't. They were like, "Okay, we got to get rid of Dick Murdoch. He's going to kill these guys."
And on Coors,
on fucking free Coors, it's not good.
No,
so, but then they were like, "Free."
There's only so much of that shit you can drink.
I'll take 5, please.
Oh God, Jesus.
So Jesus, man,
a 6-pack of Coors will ruin your day.
Oh God, you'll shit yourself silly for a week.
Unless you are a straight up alcoholic and that's all you drink on purpose. And why would you choose that one?
I don't know. Well,
any of them, the Banquet or the Light.
Coors Light, you just down. It's just water.
I suppose
it tastes like water.
It's gross.
If it's cold, you don't even taste it. It doesn't taste like anything. If it's cold, you just drink it. It doesn't even taste like anything. Like, what is this?
It's got more.
It's got something in it.
It's got more bitter than most beers.
Yeah, it's a little bitter.
It's a weird.
I'll say that.
I can drink it. I mean, I can have a couple of them, just not fucking a lot.
Not to the point of.
Miller's the most water. Miller Lite is the one that's like, Jesus, I can do this all day.
Gross.
This is nothing.
He's nasty. So, Dirty Dick Slater here, our guy, this is when he starts working for Championship Wrestling from Florida, which was Eddie Graham's company there. And, he says that it was exciting for him. Said, "I got to be around all the guys in the wrestling business." Started hanging around with Dick Murdoch. He says, quote, this is the Klan guy. "Yeah, Murdoch was quite a guy. He was one of my best friends." So that'll give you an idea of what we're dealing with here. I used to hang around Dick when I was in high school, matter of fact. So, yeah.
That's a very, very odd quote.
I hung around Dick. Dirty Dick and Dusty Dick, and we just dicked it up.
Hung around a lot of Dick in high school.
Me and Dick. So, wait till we get to a couple minutes from now. There's so many people named Dick back then, it's ridiculous.
There's a lot of Dick in this story.
Dude, in the 50s, like, Richard must have been the most popular thing to name your kid. I don't understand why.
I think it was.
It's so many people named Dick.
Late 40s, early 50s, probably all the way through the 50s. Dick,
holy shit.
When was Dick Dale a very popular guitarist? Was that the
70s? 60s.
Yeah, all right.
60s was surf rock.
Yeah, that's about,
60s, yeah.
Yeah, 50s and 60s. That's when a lot of people got...
Dick Nixon.
Yeah.
Was vice president in the 50s. I don't know if that had any influence.
There was a lot of Richards.
I hope not. Let's name him after Nixon. That's a weird thing to do.
Daisy.
Hey. So he ends up staying in Florida for 3 years. He does a lot in that 3 year too. They really, as a young kid, they really push him right to the forefront of everything. And maybe that's because they thought they could depend on him because he's a young guy that was friends with Mike Graham. He wins wins the Florida Tag Team titles in 1973.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I mean. The football program didn't he's wrestling in 73. He's done playing football. So that does not line up.
And it's still happening down there.
Yeah, and they're still playing football for another whole year. They're playing football. So this is with Dusty Rhodes as his partner.
No kidding.
So, Dirty Dick and Dusty Rhodes. They beat Kevin Sullivan and Mike Graham. Mm-hmm. Kevin Sullivan will be around forever. He's the little dude who plays like a satanic character.
Right.
And, he's got a Boston accent. Ugh. So to hear satanic shit in a Boston accent's pretty funny though, because he's trying to be serious and he's like the doc, all the doc. It's fucking hilarious, and you're like, dude, you're from.
Picture Matt Damon trying to be creepy.
It's picture that character, not even the Matt Damon. Yeah, I guess Matt Damon, but
it's just Matt Damon,
more looking like a troll.
Yeah,
but like Affleck in Good Will Hunting, because he had like a heavier accent, like that accent. But like saying satanic shit, trying to creep you out. And you're like, bro, come on.
Calm down, Benny.
Come on. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ.
You sound dumb, Ben.
All the Satan is down in Worcester. It's just not, no. So, fuck, man. He wins the Florida television title in 1973. He, again, wins the Florida tag team titles with Stan Vachon and beating Kevin Sullivan and Mike Graham again. Teamed up with Toru Tanaka, which I think that's the James Bond guy. I think he was in the James Bond movies, Toru Tanaka, wasn't he?
Was he Odd Job?
I think he was Odd Job, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. They beat Buddy Roberts, who's a fucking legendary guy. Was first WWF champion in the early 60s there, and his partner. So more Florida tag team titles in 75. So they keep him in a lot of tag teams, but 73, 74, 75. He's always in the championship picture. He's winning belts and all that kind of shit. He says about Florida, quote, well, I stayed here in the state of Florida for a long time after I broke into wrestling in the professional area. I stayed here for probably, I'd say 2 or 3 years. That's a long time to be in one place in the territories, which, they used to do. They'd go in for a year. You do your little cycle, 9 months, a year, and you go to the next place and you're fresh.
Yeah.
So back then, all those places were like, "Ooh, that guy's coming in," and you'd be like, "I've seen that guy in a magazine, or I heard of that guy," and then they'd come in, and it was kind of cool. But now they just stay in the same place for 15 years, and everybody's sick of them after 6 months, and they stay there anyway. That's how it works. And then John Cena still keeps coming out. It's like, Jesus Christ.
He's got to. He's handsome. And when the women love him.
Bring him out again. Fuck it. But it's like, woof, boy, enough already with some of these people. So at that point, he goes up to San Francisco to work for Roy Shire, which was a fun place to work back in the day. San Francisco, they all said that it was a place where you got home at the end of the night type of thing. All the trips were short. Drive 2 hours and then drive 2 hours home.
Makes sense.
Right, yeah. Some of these places, like in the Mid-South territory and like Oklahoma, Texas.
Oh God!
Yeah, they're
drive all night.
Yeah, they're doing
just to get back home. Bon Jovi.
They don't. They said to stay over. There was no other way. They drive home 10 hours, and it was bad. So that's how they used to have to do it there. But here they said you end up sleeping in your own bed every night, which was helpful. Here he says that he talks about this guy named Moondog Mayne, who I don't really know anything about this guy, and he talks about this guy. And a funny story about this guy. Moondog Mayne ended up being killed in a car accident in 1978. So many of these guys die in car accidents because they're
drunk. They're on drugs.
And they're driving all the time. If you're driving 200 miles through the night all the time, they hit deer and they fucking fall asleep at the wheel. That's what a lot of things. And also, too, they all have a 12-pack sitting next to them. Usually they're 250-pound guys.
It's sitting in them.
With tolerance. But I'm sure it contributes. So he says about this Moondog Mayne, he says he was a compulsive gambler. He said we'd flown down to Vegas one time and he stayed in my room with me. One night he goes down and blows about $500 and he comes up and borrows $50 from me. So he goes back down to the casino and I don't see him for about 3 or 4 hours. Then he comes back to the room and he's drunk out of his mind. But he's like $42,000 ahead. Off of $50.
You owe me $50, sir.
Yeah. So Slater says, I told him not to play anymore. And he says, I'm going back down.
Well, no.
$42,000. This is in 1976. That's a lot of fucking money. You could buy a house for that. Like
80 grand.
You could buy a house for that back then. Like a decent house. This is a nice house. So this is fucking crazy. Especially they live in the South. You could have bought half of Florida for that much back then. So he says, he told him, stop while you're ahead. But he said he went back down, and when I saw him in the morning, he had $70,000. He'd won.
Wow.
He'd been winning, right? So this is amazing. Like this is like the success story of the year here. for now. And then he says, so he goes to Reno, Nevada the next day.
Oh, no.
And buys himself a brand new Cadillac. He loved yellow, so it was a yellow Cadillac. He always wore yellow, he says. He had yellow hair, and he would go out and play Santa Claus. He's saying what a good guy he was. He says, anyway, besides the yellow Cadillac, he went out and bought a boat, some golf clubs, a yellow Mustang for his wife, which, fuck it, it's found money.
Whatever.
He said, and then after that, he said he went and lost all of it. The rest of the money, he lost it all. So he had back then you got all that, you still had 40 grand left. And he said he lost it all. He says, and you know what? One thing, he never gave me the $50 back.
At least give me the golf clubs, you dick.
Yeah, something. That's fucked up. He said he won it on Friday night in Vegas, lost it on Monday night in Reno, and fucking. But he had a Cadillac out of it. But yeah,
wife's got a Mustang.
Yeah. And he said, but that back then that money would have made a giant difference to these guys, which they didn't make. They didn't make
That's
a ton of money.
5 years' salary.
Yeah, it is. No, they made good money back then for what they were doing, but they didn't make $1 million a year. But they were making, better money than if they had a regular job.
Sure.
Definitely better than working on a construction site or something like that.
Making 70 grand out of $50. Why would you even? As soon as you hit 70, you've got to look yourself in the eye in the mirror and just go, dude, are you out of your fucking mind? Do you know how lucky we are right now?
I'm gonna go pay my house off.
Get the fuck home now.
Let's go home. Yeah, I'll buy your plane ticket, first class. Let's do this. Hey, in style. Eggs on me this morning. What do you say? Fuck it, let's do it. He says, Dick Slater, quote, the guys working the main event matches today are certainly in a different tax bracket than I was in my heyday. To me, that's the biggest difference. We were working just as hard back then, if not harder, but it's more popular on a national level. When I got started out, you worked different territories to make a name for yourself. And that's what it was, because you'd have to be... If you could be the biggest deal in the world in Texas. You could be the biggest fucking star there. And then if you went to Portland, nobody knew who the fuck you were.
Sure.
You'd walk in and they'd be like, nothing.
Yeah.
You've established this giant thing. If you walk in Texas, there's a riot. Right. People hate you or they love you. And then you walk into Portland and
there's like a smattering of clapping.
Or
Let's have a look. See,
light boos if you're against a good guy. Right. They'll be like, you must be the bad guy. Boo or whatever. Or cheers if you're against somebody shitty that they hate or something like that. But that's how you had to do it. Then you'd have to go. Imagine having to do that. Establish in every single fucking place.
It's comedy.
It's comedy. But you just go there for a night and establish with one audience.
Yeah.
They have to go there for like 9 months and establish build themselves from nothing to being the star, and then go to the next place and start all over again.
Getting your ass kicked every night.
Exactly. And then eventually, after years, when you've done all the rounds, then you come back and they're like, oh, we remember him from 5 years ago. And then it's a different fucking story. But, now everybody's got a short memory and it doesn't work like that.
Everyone out there should listen to Small Town Murder. You really should, mainly because you never know who's next door. And that's the point of this show, really. You never know who is next door. You never know what's going to happen on Small Town Murder. That's what makes it so wonderful. The only thing you do know is that people are going to die, and we're probably going to make jokes about it. That's it. That's all we can promise you. We dig into these towns. We see what makes them tick, from local legends to scandals they may have had. And, of course, the biggest scandals of all, horrible murders that take place there. And we put our, what I feel is a completely appropriate comedic spin on the whole thing. And you need a laugh right now. So get in there, listen to Small Town Murder, follow Small Town Murder on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Small Town Murder early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
So 1975, he worked for Georgia Championship Wrestling in the NWA there. And for Georgia, he teams with Cowboy Bob Orton from the 80s. With the, remember him with the cast on with Roddy Piper and all that? Yeah, Bob Orton Jr. Teams with him to beat Bob Armstrong and Robert Fuller, who I hear has the one of the largest penises in the history of man.
Really?
They say it's like it's a fucking weapon.
Jesus.
Like he could take down wheat fields with it. So yeah, it's
poor bastard.
He's like a 6'9" dude too. Yeah. He's a big motherfucker. So
Ralphie May used to tell jokes about how black guys' dicks were statistically 4 inches larger than everybody else, and he was like, "Well, congratulations on your at least 3 inches of dry dick."
Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, Robert
congratulations
Fuller
on having all
scary.
Of that dick for nothing, for useless.
You hear in all these wrestler interviews, you hear way too much about guys' dicks.
Yeah, they're always huge.
They're always they
never tell a story about a fucking minuscule guy.
There's like 5 guys they always talk about with like the most, that guy's Jesus Christ. He
it's
could
huge.
Sling it over his shoulder when he fucking came out of the shower and just do it that way.
They're like goldfish with dicks, though.
Yeah.
If it's small, they just delete the memory.
I don't care. Yeah, that doesn't stand out. You see a lot of small dicks. When you see one that somebody ties
into your memory.
They tie it around their belt as the waist as a belt, and they go, I remember that.
If you blink and you see it in dots, as you open your eyes fast, it really just sticks in there.
And if you wake up in the night in a sweat, going, where's
it at?
I thought it was in the room.
I thought I felt it close by.
Shit. Is his dick here? No, good. Shit, man. So he goes on. 1976 in August, he wins the Georgia heavyweight title, which is back then there was the NWA title, which was the national title, and then each territory had their own little title too, because you have to have a title match when the NWA champ isn't there. And so it was a big deal if you won the heavyweight title in any territory, you were that territory's biggest fucking star. So he wins the title that time in 76. He's been wrestling 3 years, and Georgia's a big territory, like an established one, a respected one, and he's already the champ there, which is pretty good. Also wins it again later on. He lost it and won it again. Ends up doing that again in 77. And in 1977, he wins the Missouri heavyweight title, beating Jack Briscoe, who was a legend and also one of the guys who trained him. So that's kind of neat there. And passed the torch, that sort of thing. Wins the Georgia heavyweight title again in 77. Then he kind of goes, these territories too, they would go back very fluid to go back and forth. You'd be there a little while, you'd leave, and like the promoter would call ahead, or you would call ahead and say, you got room for this guy, and you'd end up going somewhere else. So it was
networking.
It's very network based, and you'd go to places at first based on reputation. Somebody would recommend you, hey, you should bring this guy in. I worked with him over here.
Jesus.
Nice work.
Just smacking shit.
Get this fucking shit out of the goddamn way. So they'd be like, hey, I worked with this guy over there. He's pretty good. You might be able to use him. And then if that guy called 6 months later, you go, oh, yeah, this guy told me about you. And
fascinating.
Come on in. It was very, very weird how it all worked. It was just this nebulous cloud of networking that pre-social media, pre-anybody having cell phones or being able to text somebody and be like, hey, just work with this dude tonight. He's cool. Like,
that's as positive as it is detrimental, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because if you fuck up, now everybody knows.
Oh, yeah. Now there's pictures of it and videos.
Yeah.
Back then, you would fuck up. Nobody ever heard of it here. This is appropriate here. He wins the Mid-Atlantic there, the Jim Crockett territory. He wins the tag titles with Dusty Rhodes, defeating the Anderson brothers. And then he wins the U.S. tag titles in Florida with Killer Carl Cox, who we've talked about. Yeah, KKK. Killer Carl Cox.
Yeah.
And
that's a very horrible pick. But also we got Killer Cox and Dirty Dick.
Dirty Dick and Killer Cox.
Fucking real.
Watch out, motherfuckers. Grab your ankles, everybody.
Oh boy.
Holy shit. Wow. Fuck. In 78, he wins the Florida Southern Heavyweight title, beating Dusty Rhodes. So that's a big deal. So they're really pushing him to the fucking moon here. If you're beating Dusty Rhodes and Jack Briscoe and all these people, that's a big deal. He beat Pedro Morales for the Southern Heavyweight title in 1978. Pedro Morales was a huge deal, former WWF champion and all that. Television title down there. And then also he at 78 wins the Southern Heavyweight title for Wahoo McDaniel, who we'll talk about a great story about him in a little while that involves Dick. But Wahoo McDaniel, I don't know if you know who he is. He was a wrestler, obviously, for a long time. He's a real Indian, a real Native American guy, and he also played for the New York Jets in the early 60s.
No kidding.
And he played for the Chiefs, I want to say, or maybe just because he's, I don't know.
Hope not.
Yeah, possibly. But I know he played for the Jets for a long time because he actually had Wahoo on his jersey. They
That
didn't
is
put
terrible.
McDaniel. They put Wahoo on his jersey.
Jesus.
And when he'd make a tackle, the crowd would shout, Wahoo, Wahoo, they'd chant because he was a crazy fuck.
my God.
So, yeah, he played in the NFL for a while he was wrestling. So he'd wrestle in the offseason and play in the NFL.
That's insane.
Yeah, they used to do that back then because the NFL didn't pay a lot of money in the early 60s. You didn't make a lot, so you'd have to supplement. Now, in 1978, Dick gets engaged.
Yeah.
Okay, Dick found himself a lady.
Hell yeah.
That likes the dirty dick. Now, there's a couple things here that are wonderful. First of all, I found the engagement announcement in the newspaper from a Tampa newspaper in 1978, which is fucking wonderful. And it is the engagement of Charlotte Ann Sherry, and they goes by Nipper. So
her last name is Nipper.
Nipper.
Yeah.
So the Dick and Nipper wedding.
Oh, boy.
To Richard Van Slater, because that's his real name, the bride-elect. Bride-elect. Was there a panel? Who voted on this?
Yeah.
Bride-to-be, maybe? Bride-elect? What the fuck is that?
She won the popular vote.
That's. I think if you're engaged to a prince, you're the bride-elect or something, maybe. But
amazing.
There's no government status in this at all. She's the daughter of
the Dick Nipper wedding.
The Dick Nipper wedding. Well, there's one that's where
There's
Jimmie.
going to be a circumcision at this wedding.
Dude, buckle up. Wait till you hear the next announcement because it's amazing.
All
It's
right.
fucking amazing. So he's going to wed the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Cecil Nipper. She graduated from Largo High School. The prospective bridegroom, how come he's not the groom-elect, is the son of Richard Slater, blah, 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 graduated from Robinson High School, University of Tampa. He is employed by the National Wrestling Alliance. Wedding plans are being made. Now, right next to this in the wedding announcements is my favorite wedding announcement of all time. It is the Reem Dingus wedding.
What?
This is
Reem Dingus.
Reem is marrying Dingus.
Dingus is marrying Reem.
Just hear me out here.
That's two Reems.
Dude, hear this. Listen to this. The engagement, I can't even fucking say it. The engagement of Pamela Karen Reem to Richard Darrell Dingus. Dick Darrell Dingus, Jimmy. His name is Dick Darrell fucking Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus. Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus.
And that guy's not a wrestler?
What the fuck? No, it sounds like he's got this is Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus here for Little Rock's largest volume dealership, Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge. Now y'all come on down here. I'll give you the best dang darn Dick Dangus deal in town. If I don't give you a Dick Dingus of a deal, then you ain't got a Dodge, buddy.
Come get you a Dodge or Datsun this weekend.
Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge Datsun. West Little Rock. Y'all come on down.
Holy shit.
What the fuck is that?
My Christ.
Oh, my God.
Next week, we're partnering with Daihatsu.
You know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. Holy.
My Christ.
Jesus Christ. Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus.
That was amazing.
Why would you name your kid Richard Darrell Dingus? Let's say you picked out Darrell. That's the middle name. That's like a grandfather's name. You have to use Darrell.
Yeah.
You know they're going to call him Dick.
You go with George or fucking Charles.
We don't want him to be Dick Darrell Dingus, do we?
Not.
Dick Darrell. And someone's married. Pamela Reem is like, it's kind of better than my name.
My last name is essentially a dick, too. It reams shit out all the time.
Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge Daihatsu Datsun. Wow. So her father was the mayor of a town too. Like she should be going better. He is graduated from high school in Virginia, went to Old Dominion University. He was a member of Kappa Alpha. Yeah. They just keep him around to make fun of him. No, I swear we got a guy named Dick Dingus. I swear they had to get him in the house just for that. Here he is.
You got a pledge.
What's your fucking name? Tell him your fucking name, queer. And then he'd be like, I'm Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus. He'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Go back in your room, and he'd push him away. He's like, okay.
Lord, show him your balls.
Yeah, show him your fucking balls. Here's my balls. All right, good. Now take a hike. So he's an assistant golf professional. Mm-hmm. So he gets their balls, good apparently. Jesus Christ, man. So that's my favorite person.
That's insane.
That we've ever talked about. Dirty Dick Darrell. I'm like, is this real? I have to put this into the episode because this is just
that's incredible.
The greatest just fate that happened to be next to it in the newspaper. So after he's engaged, I don't know if he's going to have a dual wedding with dueling Dirty Dick Daryl Dingus and Dirty Dick Slater. Dueling Dirty Dick weddings. The Dingus wedding is here.
There's so much dick in wrestling that this episode is chock full of.
It's just so much dick. Jesus, it's too much. So 1979, he goes to Japan to wrestle. And it's all Japan pro wrestling here. He wins, I don't know what their wrestling awards are over there, but he wins the Champion Carnival Technical Award.
Whatever that
which
is.
I don't know what the fuck that is, but
some amazing like rope work or something.
Champion, he's a good technical mat wrestler, I guess, and World's Strongest Tag Determination League Outstanding Performance Award.
I don't know what that could be.
What the fuck that is? I don't know, but he won it with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Here, so that was good. As we were not Ricky the Dragon yet, but just Ricky Steamboat at the time, who is the dumbest person in the world because his real name is Richard Blood, and he goes by you're a wrestler, your last name is Blood, you're Dick Blood,
right?
So we have Dirty Dick Daryl Dingus and Dick Blood here. This guy is just surrounded by weird dicks. Jesus Christ. So, 79, he's also in Florida, wins the Florida heavyweight title, Southeastern tag team titles with that 500-pound Jerry Blackwell.
Yeah.
And they beat Bob Roop and Bob Orton Jr. So here's the thing. I think it was around this time. He gets in a fight with Bob Roop. Apparently, Bob Roop tried to take some liberties with him in the ring, is apparently the story. Basically, in wrestling, guys are letting you do things to them. So if you want to, you can hurt them because they're letting you hurt them.
Right.
So it's a trust thing. So if you give them a piece of your body and then they fucking take advantage of it and hurt you, that's like what they call taking liberties. You can't do that. So that'll a lot of times get you the shit knocked out of you backstage if you do shit like that. So basically, this Bob Roop guy apparently took a couple liberties with him, and they weren't getting along. And back in the dressing room, from the way Dick Slater tells it, apparently Bob Roop hit him with a blackjack. And Slater says, not hard enough, I guess. And apparently, Dick Slater turned around and beat the living shit out of this guy for doing that and put his head through a soda machine.
Whoa, shit.
Like in a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people that I've heard that story from, that he put Bob Roop's head through a soda machine. Like he said, right here we go. Like in a movie.
Yeah.
Like in a movie when someone goes in the jukebox and the fucking record scratches at the end of a stutid bar fight scene.
Or in a movie when somebody gets thrown into a fucking soda machine.
I think that happened.
Sodas just all start popping
they start popping out. I think Back to School. Didn't Paulie from Rocky throw a guy into a jukebox? And
I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I'm sure
but it sounds right?
Sounds like a Dangerfield movie.
It sounds totally all right there. So he beats Ronnie Garvin for the NWA Southeastern heavyweight title. Beats the Mongolian Stomper for the heavyweight title again later on. Teams with Paul Orndorff to win some tag team titles. Also beats Toru Tanaka for a heavyweight title. Here he wins the Brass Knuckles title, which was not actual brass knuckles. It would be like taped fists, basically. They tried to do. Look how tough it is. Look how tough we are and shit like that. This was back in the day when they would talk about, like, if they were doing a TV match where it was supposed to get out of control to set up an angle and somebody was supposed to be bleeding, they would just fucking hit each other till they bled. Like, they wouldn't even cut each other on TV. They wouldn't bother. They just like hard way it and on purpose. Like, you hit me above the eye, so I bleed a little bit on TV. Like, it was so, because it had to be this fast paced thing. Fucking crazy. These guys they don't do that now. Nobody says, hit me hard enough to make me bleed now. I don't think the guys do that anymore, probably. They don't. Well, because of who are you convincing? These people think it's fake anyway. What are we going to hurt each other for? Like that. So it doesn't make any sense. Once people knew it was, like in the 90s with all the chair shots and shit, people liked watching people get hit in the head with chairs, but everybody knows it's not real. So why are you fucking hurting that guy?
Good point.
Like, who's the fucking idiot now?
Right.
Like, the fans or you? And that's what I heard. And Jim Cornette said that. I'm just taking what, and I was like, that makes perfect sense. He goes, well, because they call the fans marks, and he goes, who's the fucking mark now? Like, You're getting hit for $25 in the head with a fucking chair, and they don't even think it hurts because they think it's fake.
Right.
Meanwhile, you have a concussion, dummy. Like, what the fuck is wrong with
And
you?
now blood everywhere.
Yeah, and now you're going to kill your whole family at some point, you
Now
stupid
you got a
idiot.
copay, you fuckface.
Yeah. Well, no, because no one will insure you. 'cause
Right,
you're
good
fucking, you do stupid shit and let people hit you in the head with a chair. Is that on a insurance form? Do you let other people hit you in the head with chairs without even trying to block them?
Right.
Yes? I'm sorry. We're not insuring you. You're going to be a fucking mess later on. So he goes to wrestle for Southwest Championship Wrestling in 81-82. That's the Blanchards there, Joe Blanchard. They had USA Television, the USA Network. That was the first wrestling they had on was Southwest Championship Wrestling. And then Vince McMahon ended up taking that over and keeping it until I think he still has it. Probably. So, and this was from like 1983. So yeah, so he goes there. He teams with Bruiser Brody to beat Gino Hernandez and Tully Blanchard. A couple of real tragic stories in there, Bruiser Brody and Gino Hernandez. And he teams with, in 1982, wins the tag titles with Bob Sweetan.
How about that?
Our asshole fucking scumbag Bob Sweetan.
He is a dirty turd. He's a terrible person.
Oh, Sweetan
a
was
horrible person.
Awful person. That was a good episode, though. Let's go back and listen to Sweetan. God, we've done a lot of wrestlers.
Really have.
It's great. Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, we did Snuka.
Yeah.
We did Chris Adams, Krotoru, Hardbody Harrison, Sonny, Jake the Snake, Buck Zumhoff. Who am I missing? Razor Ramon, Sweetan.
Razor Ramon. Yeah, that's it. I think.
Neidhart. And Neidhart. Yeah. And if I'm missing anybody, let me know. But,
and now this fuck.
Here. So 82-83, I guess this is where he starts booking, where he's, the guy's matchmaker kind of thing, but he's also wrestling. Back then, there was kind of like a small comedy club. Yeah. They'd have like, a guy who would be like that kind of a house feature or something would be booking the shows as well, booking like guys. So he's booking the shows here for Ron Fuller. I guess Ron Fuller threatened him with his penis, and he said, "I'll book your shows." Okay, sir, put that thing away, but please put it back around your waist. It's fine. So, he said that he was going between Jim Crockett and between Barnett and Crockett, which is Georgia, and Jim Crockett they were on TBS back then. So that was like they were on national TV. That was a big deal. He says, quote, at one point I was in Knoxville, Tennessee, booking for Ron Fuller, and Jim Barnett came and asked me if I wanted to come back and book the Atlanta end of Turner's television show. And then what happened was Jimmy Crockett was in the middle of buying out Jim Barnett, and I didn't even know about it. So when Jim Crockett bought it from Barnett, I was booker for Crockett, and Dusty Rhodes became booker for Crockett at some point in there. So it was a pretty interesting time for me. So he got offered a job by a guy who was about to not have a company to give him a job, is basically what happened. So he said, sure, I'll take it. And then they went, yeah, this isn't none of that.
None of that matters.
Yeah. Right. It's basically like television. Yeah. Like you get a deal and then they fire the executive that gave you the deal. And then everybody's like, well, I'm not doing any of his shit. The next guy. And then you're gone. That happens to everybody in television. That happens to. So, he's in Mid-Atlantic there for a while, which is the kind of Carolinas in that region there. He beats Mike Rotundo, who was the future IRS. You remember from the 90s, the guy who wrestled in a fucking suit and tie. Yeah.
That's dumbest fucking thing ever.
He looked just so hot. Let him take his shirt off, for Christ's sake. Oh, he was fine, Jimmy. I was mainly talking about his dirty dick is what I was getting to. But no, I mean, Christ, he'd have a dress shirt just stuck to him with sweat. It's like, you have suspenders on. And he'd wrestle in a tie, strangle the man. He's
giving you an out.
He has a noose on already. What is happening? I brought my own. Right. Why? Why'd you do that? Going to a murder trial wearing a noose. How's that sound? He also wins the television title by defeating Rowdy Roddy Piper in 1983, which is awesome there. Greg the Hammer Valentine he beats for the U.S. heavyweight title, and in 84 and 83, I mean. And we'll talk about some crazy stories now. Okay. It's kind of his wrestling shit for a little bit here. Jack Briscoe talks about Dick as just he's known as a crazy son of a bitch, and he's just out there, and he's friends with Dick Murdoch and all these crazy people, and so crazy stuff's going to follow him. And also he's really tough, so he's not afraid of anybody knocking him out. Yeah. So it's one of those things. He likes playing pranks, and what are you going to do about it, type of thing. So Jack Briscoe said about one time, quote, on our way to the arena, Dick saw a fireworks stand where you could buy big cherry bombs.
Uh-oh.
You know, this is going bad. Jack, who is Jack and I, this is Jerry Briscoe talking. Jack and I were heels at the time, so we were in the same dressing room. Dick got his fireworks out, and one was a whirly bomb. He lights it and goes up. He lights it and it goes up, and I'm next to Dick. When it comes down, it went right into my right cheek and sets my new jeans on fire. I'm on fire, my pants are on fire, and I still have the burn mark.
Oh, my God.
We all laugh, but I have no pants, and my ass cheek is burned. But Dick went out and bought me some new Levi's. He thought it was great. I didn't.
Oh, boy.
So who the fuck sets off fireworks indoors in a locker room with a guy standing next to you and then laughs when it fucking severely burns him?
I mean, I'll laugh.
I'll laugh now, but if I did it, I'd be like, oh, my God, I'm sorry. Shit, my bad, dude.
Whoops-a-daisy.
He's like, your ass is on fire. Which that happened to my friend as a kid. You know, jumping jacks?
Yeah.
The fireworks, they kind of bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, they bounce.
Yeah, this one was bouncing, and it went right up his shorts.
Jesus Christ.
Like, it had a fucking magnet for him. It took 2 bounces and then went right up his shorts, and you could see it spinning in his ass through his shorts, because his shorts were lit up. The seat of his ass was lit up as he was...
Unbelievable.
He was a fat white kid that played hockey, and he jumped 7 feet into the air. He could have reverse dunked at that moment in time. I swear to Christ. He jumped so high in the air, and it burned his ass up pretty bad. Yeah, he had burns on his ass for years. It's hilarious. So Dusty Rhodes says about Dick Slater here that he's a good wrestler, though. That's the thing. We're saying we always tell a bunch of crazy stories, but he really was good. That's why I tried to reiterate all the titles he won, and he was a trusted guy within the industry. And to be a nutcase that lights off fireworks in the dressing room was not... That wasn't it didn't go against you back then.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like, well, we can't hire him. He does crazy shit. Like, you'd have no locker room then. Right. Nobody would work for you. They were all insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was one of those deals. Now, Dusty says, quote, Dickie Slater was one of the top 4 or 5 most talented guys in wrestling back then. A great guy and a good friend. I gave him the nickname of Buford, as in Buford Pusser, the famous sheriff from Walking Tall. He was a rugged SOB. So, everybody says that. Gordon Soley, who was the godfather of wrestling announcers guy. He was he presented it very sports-like, and he's a very well-respected announcer. He said, quote, Dick Slater knew how to get a reaction from a crowd. He was he was a good tactician when it came to amateur wrestling knowledge. He had charisma, he had ring savvy, and Dick Slater was as tough as they come. Ric Flair says about him, quote, nobody messed around with Slater. And there's an incident in a bar down in Tampa where Slater gets in a fist fight with John Matuzak.
Really?
Who's a fucking giant NFL
he played
player.
Football with him.
And he's sloth.
Yeah.
He's a big dude. And Flair, let's just say what Flair was there apparently. Let's have Flair quote on it. He says, quote, Slater beat the crap out of him. He went up to Matuzak's hotel room, and Slater said, write me a note and apologize to me before you come out. Nobody messed around with Slater. Holy shit. He beat the giant man up and then went up to his hotel and said, you better write me a fucking apology note before you come out of your room again.
I don't want to see your face without a note.
What the that's a bad dude. Like, I'm sorry. That's a scary motherfucker. Yeah. Grace. We'll call beating Sloth up Grace, I think, right? He's won a bunch of heavyweight titles. He beat Roddy Piper and Sloth in the same year. Grace, I'm going to say here. Not too bad. So it's right around this time, somewhere in here, that there's an incident. Kind of an incident that injures him here. Well, let's let him tell it here. He says, well, Wahoo McDaniel, who we know, I told you about, and Wahoo too was crazy in terms of, like, he would drink motor oil and then run 5 miles just to show that he could.
Oh, boy.
Because he's just a crazy son of a bitch. So, and he's just judging by that, and he played in the NFL. He's a really tough motherfucker,
he's got it together.
He's known for being a tough bastard.
Yeah.
So he says to Wahoo McDaniel, me, Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich is like a tall, skinny, blonde, white trash guy who won the NWA title when he was like 20 or some shit, and then kind of went into a mediocre career after that. And he says, Wahoo McDaniel, me, Tommy Rich, and Andre the Giant were at a lounge in downtown Tampa. Oh boy. That's quite the crew you have there. First of all, the the look of the crew.
Yeah.
It's a strange looking crew. Anyway, he says in downtown Tampa that we always hung around down there. Andre, Wahoo, and I were sitting at the bar, and somebody said something about Tommy Rich's wife, and Wahoo got real mad. Not Tommy Rich got real mad, because he's probably not a big fighter at that point.
Maybe he hates his wife.
Or maybe he just doesn't care. Apparently, Wahoo, not cool. He's upset about it, though. Tommy went outside. This was about at closing time, and what I remember was Wahoo got in an argument with this guy, and the guy went to the car and gets his knife out, right? This is the story here. So Wahoo saw that, and I guess he went to his car and got his gun out.
Oh, God.
So now you have a crazy, insane person with a gun in a fucking parking lot and another one with a knife. Slater says, quote, I don't know what's going on in the parking lot because me and Andre are still inside at the bar. So when I go out, I see Wahoo with some guy by the shirt against the wall. Now, first of all, you're Andre the Giant's in there. So just the fact that Andre the Giant's on the scene makes this a very weird scenario. Just any scene you talk about, this as a guy with another guy against the wall by the shirt, that happens at bars outside after closing time.
From time to time.
But then Andre the Giant doesn't duck through the front door and pop out to watch. That's just weird. So he said, Wahoo's got him by his shirt against the wall. Quote, I told Wahoo, what's you doing? I don't know why he said that. Me and Andre just stood there looking at him. Then Wahoo grabs the guy and he backhands the guy. And when he backhands the guy, Wahoo's got his gun in his hand now, all right? He pistol whips the guy and the gun goes off.
Oh, my God.
And I catch a bullet.
What?
Somehow, out of all this, Dick Slater got shot. Okay? This is
wow,
ladies and gentlemen, wrestling.
Yeah,
fucking wrestling.
This is very 8 Mile.
This is insane.
This is Cheddar Bob getting shot in the leg.
Yeah, let's just recap this whole thing. So inside the bar is Dick Slater, who looks like kind of a rednecky, kind of cowboy-y kind of guy. You got him. You got Wahoo McDaniel, who's a real stocky Indian dude.
Right.
You got Tommy Rich, who's a tall, lanky, bleach blonde, skinny, white trash looking dude, and fucking Andre the Giant. Before he cut his hair. Right. So this is like big Afro Andre with he's like 8 feet tall with the fucking hair and everything, and he's wide and everything like that. They're standing in a bar. That's a story alone. And then this happens. Wahoo pistol whips a man who said something about not even his wife.
Somebody else's
the other
wife.
guy's wife, and somehow this results in Dick Slater getting shot. That's what goes on. I don't understand it. He says, then he comes over and stands over there looking at me. I said, Wahoo, put the gun up. When the police got there, I told them a sniper shot me to save Wahoo. What the fuck?
How do they believe that?
He said, sniper shot me.
Yeah.
And
we got those around these parts.
That happens, man. They set up, it's the Viet Cong. See, that's the problem now. That's why I said you gotta win that war in Vietnam before they come over here.
Right.
See, that's how it works. Then they set up sniper stands everywhere, and it's like
taking all our wrestlers.
Like Full Metal Jacket they were probably trying to shoot Andre because he's more famous, I would say. So you're lucky. You're fucking lucky. So so the cops get there to deal with a shot wrestler standing next to Andre the Giant saying a sniper shot me.
Unbelievable.
They had to be like, what
a scene.
The fuck? What are we doing?
That's amazing.
Call the chief. Something's wrong here.
Nobody's going to believe this shit.
This is,
The chief, we got Wahoo. We're good.
He's good. We have Chief Wahoo who's right here. And that was the story. Nobody said a different story.
They're like, cool, we'll file it.
That's it.
We'll be on the lookout for the sniper.
I just pictured the whole thing. So because they had to ask everybody. So when it goes, so this is what happened. And Andre just, yes. Okay.
Sounds good to me, boss.
Men shot from roof. Shot Dick in leg. Okay. Sounds good. So Dick says, quote, they took me to the hospital. I had to be in Japan 3 weeks after that to wrestle. He shot me with a 9mm, went in the side of my leg and came out the back of my knee. It blew a hole the size of a tennis ball at the back of my knee and about the size of a quarter in front.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Exit wound.
That is a nasty gunshot.
That's a nasty gunshot. He was wrestling 3 weeks later in Japan.
Wow.
From a fucking gunshot wound.
Incredible.
That's what the guys back then were a different.
They were
just different.
They were real.
Yeah.
That's a man.
They weren't like, they were men. These dudes were, not that guys now aren't men,
well,
but I mean.
Just got like stylish tattoos
just different
that they
now.
probably cried when they got them.
Yeah, and and just like the rest of society, they're not like, wanting to do real hard things and shit like that. If someone shot you, you'd be like, you got to be back in the ring in 3 weeks. They'd say no.
No.
It's going to be 6 months.
I took a 3-month break when I got this tattoo.
Yeah, it hurt. I got to tell you. It kept swelling. The swelling, it wouldn't stop.
It was itchy.
It was itchy.
Wouldn't stop.
I can't be itching in the middle of a match.
I was sweating, so I got to put lotion on it. Every time I sweat, the lotion just comes off. I got to keep it lubricated.
That's
Otherwise,
hilarious.
it'll look shitty when it heals.
And it's not, and that's not to say anything about it. Like I said, I'm sure, what they're doing now is hard. These guys take, brutal shots and shit like that. It was just a different money situation.
It wasn't as cleverly crafted as it is today.
Yeah,
it was clever. It was clever and it was crafted.
But
just
it was more. It was more. It's more master plan now.
Theatric now.
Well, now everything is master plan. Every word they say is master plan. Every shot they have is master planned. Whereas back then it was like they'd say, "Hey, you're wrestling that dude in Columbus in 2 weeks. Go out there and fucking
you're
talk.
Losing. Go.
Yeah, go out there and talk.
Right.
And you got 2 minutes, and you'd have to go out there for 2 minutes and say how he's going to kick this dude's ass in Columbus, and you better come out and watch. For 2 minutes.
Holy hell.
And they'd have to come up with something.
I'm going to win.
Yeah.
How much time is left?
You'd have to. That's what I mean. That's why you get these guys that have these crazy characters, is they'd have to fill 2 minutes of time with something. So that's why you have Macho Man. Oh, yeah, and I'm going to do this. And what do you think of that, Mean Gene?
Saying shit that doesn't matter.
You got to have something to say.
You got to fill. So Ric Flair's screaming woo every 30 seconds.
You have 2 minutes to make people want to see you get your ass kicked by that guy in Columbus in 2 weeks. And enough to pay money to do it. But what I'm saying is back now, if you got shot in the leg, I have a feeling that you probably would get a paycheck while you were recovering. Probably. Things like that. Back then, if he didn't show up in Japan in 3 weeks, he didn't make any money in Japan in 3 weeks. No cash. Period. That was it. You were just not getting paid. So it was a different story. If you didn't show up, you didn't wrestle, you didn't get fucking paid. Period. No guaranteed contracts or any of that shit. So it was just a different story. You had to be back in the ring 3 weeks later. Then 1986 comes around, and he goes to Mid-South for Bill Watts, who we've talked about, and that's a really tough territory. The matches were tough. Watts insisted on real looking shit. He insisted on, if you hit somebody, you fucking hit them. Yeah. If you like the bad guys would scratch a back, they'd go like with their nails, like they're scratching down somebody's back. He goes, if you do that, I better see fucking nail marks down that guy's back, not finger marks. I better see fucking cuts. He's like, don't do shit that looks stupid, basically. Don't do shit that doesn't make sense. Makes sense to do that. So he goes to Mid-South. Also Mid-South, hugely long journeys in the between cities. So this is a huge territory that spans from Oklahoma City to Tulsa to New Orleans in Arkansas. So we're talking huge long trips they would talk about through the middle of nowhere for hours and hours and hours. It was hard to work there, basically. What he does at this moment is he finds a valet for himself, finds himself a female manager. And where do you find a female manager? They don't have they weren't pumping them out. There was no college for that back then. Let's see. A chance meeting at a strip club.
Yahtzee.
There you go.
Tampa.
That's the other thing too. Come on.
It's fucking Tampa.
It's Atlanta, actually.
All right.
In Atlanta, which it's known more for strip clubs in Atlanta. Actually, Atlanta's known for strip clubs. Right. That's like all the athletes get in trouble down there. Remember that big NBA thing where they had all the, was it the Gold Club or some shit?
There's one there that's like haunted or some shit. So it's like a big, what is it?
Ghosts and tits at the same time.
Is it the Seventh Veil in Atlanta?
Hold on. Those are two very separate emotions. Ghosts and tits. What are we doing here? No, that's Dirty Dick Daryl Dingus fucking Dodge sponsors Ghost Night down at the strip club here.
I forget. It's a very popular, famous one, though.
So, he finds a young lady named Linda Newton, who he names, obviously that's not going to be her ring name. She's a black lady. He finds a young black woman to, on purpose, try to stoke the fires. He's trying to piss the rednecks off, is what he does. So back then, that was a big thing that they used to do. Even into the 90s, they did that. Do you remember Harlem Heat?
I do.
Booker T and Stevie Ray. Well, they gave them the manager, Sherry Martel, Sensational Sherry, and they thought that they were doing that to piss people off. Like, oh, this white lady's going to go out with these two black guys. It was like 1993, and they were still doing that. So back then in the 80s, this was like, we're in the South, this is going to be a big deal. And it pissed people off. They didn't like it. Her name, though, what he names her?
Oh, boy.
Dark Journey.
No. No. You don't get to do that.
Dark Journey. Dirty Dark Journey. Dirty Dick Dark Journey. What the fuck? Dark Journey. That is...
You can't do that.
You can't do that.
There's nothing to be... there's no dark. There's no shade. There's no brown. There's no... Nothing. No. You don't even get to call her brown sugar.
Dark Journey?
No.
Jesus
God damn it,
Christ,
man. Find a personality trait.
Oh, my God. Well,
Run with that.
No. Well, no. Back then, we've talked about, if you haven't listened to, the back then racist wrestling tropes, and it was always... There was a million of them. Yeah. Black guy, hardhead. Yeah. Also Islander hardhead. Yeah. Asian sneaky. Always. Yeah. Puerto Rican too fiery. They'd get all upset at the referee, and the guy'd sneak up behind him and roll him up. Yeah, too fiery spicy. Latin
they're
temper.
Spicy,
and they would say he's got his Latin temper going. They'd say shit like that. I swear to God, everyone had a stereotype. Yeah. If you headbutted a black guy, no matter how bad they were losing, if you headbutted him, you'd get hurt, and they'd stand there shaking their head going, "Nuh-uh, motherfucker," and then the match would be turned around, and they'd be winning. It's crazy. So, Dark Journey here, Linda, we'll call her Linda.
Okay.
Linda said, quote, "I was working at a club outside of Atlanta and Dick Slater came in by himself. I remember talking to him at least once, and then he brought me a drink. He bought me a drink, not brought me a drink. He probably mentioned wrestling and me being involved, but I just basically blew it off. Wrestling wasn't an interest to me. I didn't understand wrestling. The first wrestling match I had ever seen was the first match I was actually in. I was never a fan of wrestling." So he just saw a chick that he thought was hot.
Yeah.
It was like, "You're hot and black, and that'll piss people off. Fucking, why don't you come in with me?" Yeah. So she said, quote, "I think he came back again and talked to the owner of the club. The owner called me at my house and said Slater was real serious about it, and they thought it was a good opportunity for me to get a start in the business, the wrestling business, not the stripping business." She's already in that. She said, "Slater came over to my house. I had a roommate, and he talked to me and my boyfriend about his size, about his idea, and I said I'd give it a try." So she had a boyfriend at the time. After a while, they end up being together.
Of course.
Dick and Linda here end up being hooked up together for a while. That lasts couple years, and then it kind of falls apart, like most of these wrestling relationships do. So she said she didn't know what she was doing. She back then, and especially in Mid-South, they took the good guy, bad guy thing very seriously. They'd still try to beat up bad guys after matches back then. And it was like Jim Cornette tells these stories about Mid-South where they, especially down in Louisiana, some of these real rednecky towns, like Houma, Louisiana, places like that. One place he's like, it's like 30 miles south of New Orleans. So that tells you right there what the fuck you're dealing with. Right. And, stories about...
You can't go that much... I don't think you can go 31 miles south.
No, you'd be in the fucking Gulf of Mexico. So these stories, though, about, like, the bad guys back then would have to, like, run to their cars, basically, or try to hide themselves, or they'd have to park down the street and have cabs bring them in because fans would slash the tires, they'd turn their cars over. All the bad guys carried guns to keep fans away from them, because fans would come up and want to fucking attack them with knives and shit, and they pull guns on them all the time. Cornette tells stories about fans following them on the road away from arenas and having to, like, fucking shoot guns out the window up in the air to say, "Hey, leave me the fuck alone." Right. Like, they took it seriously, which is crazy. Honestly, like, they didn't look at it as like, "Oh, that was a good show." Right. They were like, "Hey, he really did that to Dusty Rhodes. That son of a bitch." There's matches where, like, they're one match they're attacking Dusty Rhodes in a cage, and there's people fucking trying to climb the steel cage to get into the fucking... To help.
Wow.
So what are you going to do when you get in there?
Oh,
if he's beating up Dusty Rhodes, what do you think he's going to do to you when you get in there?
Bunch of dudes that came there on a fan boat.
Yeah, dudes in jeans and fucking sneakers are trying to climb over the cage while some fucking angry, jacked up, bloody man is in the middle of the ring looking for... It's ridiculous. So they said that... she said they really took a lot out on her as well. She was his valet. He was a bad guy. And she said... the way she said, she goes on this big thing, like she said it was weird to her because she was presented as black. She said, "I was presented as a black woman," and she said, "I'm mixed and never really thought of myself as black." Just, I know people, it's whatever, but that's how she thought of herself. She said, "I'm mixed. I never thought of myself as black. I always thought of myself as biracial. Just never really thought of myself as, like, this is just a black person." And she said in the crowd, they only saw me as Because that's how I was presented, was this is a black lady going out with a white guy, and they're both bad. Fucking throw shit at them.
Yeesh.
Yeah, so, he said, she said it was a lot of heat with the crowd. She said, quote, somebody from the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan even sent me a letter.
Hell yeah.
She said, so, like, yeah, she was like, this, it's probably Dick Murdoch from the next locker room over. Dear Linda.
It didn't even have a stamp on it. It was weird.
Just, dear, it was rolled up in a ball and thrown in the room. Dear Linda.
It was balled up in a ball and then stuck in an envelope.
I don't know if you realized this, but you are black. Like, love the Klan and like throw. I don't know what happened, but I doubt it. She said that people spat on her. They threw bottles and rocks and pliers at them.
Fuck.
Oh, yeah, they used to do shit like that back then.
Wow.
Cornette talks about being like afraid for his life back then, and it's the guy, he always has a tennis racket, and he said that was for fucking real. He
put smack shit.
Yeah, he
out.
put a fucking horseshoe in the tennis racket in the case, and so if anybody was fucking with him, he'd swing that fucking racket, and it was a weighed down tennis racket, and it'd knock you on your ass to save his own life. Here he said, but they would, they'd pull her hair and curse at her and all that shit. And she said, quote, that was more hurtful than anything. My father was a pastor at the time, and I remember asking him, I don't understand. Why do they hate me? I didn't get that I was portraying this person to get heat, and if you get heat, that's a good thing. It was just confusing to me at that age. She didn't realize she was doing that was good.
Yeah.
Like, booing you, that's what they want. That's what you want. You're the bad guy. The more they boo you, the better job you're doing. She just didn't understand that yet, which is
You're doing it right.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing it if you don't even understand that much of it yet, probably. Probably a little too new to the whole thing. She said, working in the business was very educational. It opened my eyes to see what gimmicks and angles were, how and what to sell, because before that, I didn't get that everything was a gimmick. I just kind of took fans for what they said. So, that makes sense. But that lasts a little bit. They go out for about a year and a half, and then it ends up kind of falling apart. She ends up going to, I think, Mid-Atlantic after that, over to the Crockett's, and then by 87, she gets out of the business. Okay. She's only in the business about 3 years.
Just long enough to feel like an outcast, like they hate her.
Yeah, that's it. And now she does like massage and hydro, whatever, makes you shit with water.
Okay.
I don't know. Does that shit now. That's what I read. I'm not sure.
Good for her.
She's married to somebody. She's doing fine, so that's good. So Dick, though, is very successful in the Mid-Atlantic territory here, or in Mid-South, I mean. He wins the North American heavyweight title, beating Butch Reed. He beats Jake the Snake Roberts, has a very memorable feud with Jake the Snake Roberts here for a while. And this is in 86, in February of 86. He wins the title from Jake and then loses it and then wins it back again. And they have a big giant feud at that point here. There's one particular night where he comes into the evening with 2 titles. And then he doesn't lose a match, but he loses both titles in the night. They do a thing here where he's the television champ and the North American heavyweight champ. He gives the TV title to Buzz Sawyer and keeps the North American belt. Buzz Sawyer gets beat by Hacksaw Jim Duggan, so that's one belt gone. And then Bill Watts says that Dick Slater agreed to that it was the North American title, so they gave him the North American title, and Buzz Sawyer had the TV belt, and Dick Slater had shit. So he was a bad guy that they like to fuck with and make look stupid. He said he was helping book, and he was doing all his different things. He was helping book. He said he had this relationship with Linda and trying to book territories and wrestle at the same time. He said it was very hectic. He said, I had enough of booking and doing 3,000 things and taking care of Dark Journey and having to put up with Bill Watts. That was enough. My mind couldn't take it anymore. My body couldn't take it anymore. There's also a rumor at this time that he beat up Sting, the wrestler Sting, because he was getting a little too
like a real life beat up,
because he was a little too close to old Linda here. He was getting a little too close to Linda, and Dick didn't like it. So that's the rumor. We don't know. Who knows if that's true or not? I haven't heard anybody say I saw it, like the Wahoo thing. Everybody saw that, but that's a great fucking story. That's amazing. So 1986, he gets the call to go to New York and be in the WWF. So this was the time when WWF, it was after their main expansion, when they took everybody's talent. This is when they were going through and taking all the second tier of talent too. Got it. This is like, okay, we took all your Roddy Pipers and all those guys and your Hulk Hogans.
Now we're going to really insult you.
Now we're going to take the middle of the card too and leave you with shit. And also, the big deal here was the WWF was still having trouble in the South in terms of drawing crowds the same, because the South is very ingrained in their wrestling of what they liked, and they were thought of as interlopers. They didn't like them. So they were trying to get guys from the South specifically to win over these Southern cities, and they thought a guy like Dick Slater could be a guy that's known down there, and they had a gimmick for him that they thought was going to be perfect and make him a good guy. His gimmick, he's no longer Dirty Dick Slater. He's now the Rebel Dick Slater.
Oh.
And he wears Confederate flag gear and carries a Confederate flag to the ring.
That's not good at all.
No, it's bad.
Yeah.
And it made no sense because he's a good guy in New York.
Right.
And he's wearing a Confederate flag shirt.
This is horrible.
Went to shows that he was at. Jesus. We were all like, are we supposed to cheer this fucking guy?
Yeah.
I'm not cheering the Confederate flag guy.
Right.
Like, even as a small kid, I was like 7, 8 years old. I still knew that wasn't like, why is he wearing a Confederate flag? It was just fucking weird. I remember in the and they had the little pamphlets with the like little catalogs that had like the wrestling figures and T-shirts and shit in it. And his was in there, and I was just like, it's a Confederate flag that just says Dick Slater under it. Like, no one's buying that shit. Very fucking weird, odd gimmick. What were they thinking? That's one of those where a dude is doomed when he walks in. You're going to be a good guy.
Yeah.
Tell you what, pal, you're going to be a good guy, but a Confederate.
But what year was this?
86.
Right. That's my point. Is that Dukes of Hazzard was just ending its season.
That's the only thing I can think of.
So those guys were good guys, and they ran with that thing for fucking ever.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is probably
that's what I thought of too. That's what I thought of.
It's got to be.
It has to be
because that was kind of like a romanticized, like a good guy would have that flag.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
almost
people
like
were like, wait, no.
Yeah, it's almost like a good, because that's what I thought when I was a kid too. Like that's when you're 7, I knew 2 things about the flag, that it was like a Southern thing, and that the fucking Duke boys had it on the roof of their car. That's what I knew. So like it was a weird thing to see that, but it's just a very odd. It's just even if the kids are like, "Yay, cool Dukes of Hazzard," that must be the same thing. There's a lot of adults in the crowd too, and they'd be like, "Is that a Confederate flag on? We're in Buffalo. This is weird."
Well, you know what?
It's weird.
Like adults are okay. How do I say it the right way? Adults will kind of go with the flow, and if they see something that's like popular and everybody's accepting it, they're like, "Well, I guess we all accept that."
Yeah,
it takes
true.
like a forward thinking, like a younger person going, "Wait a minute, I just read about that in a book, and that's a bad fucking flag."
The reaction to him was very much like,
they weren't good with it.
No, he'd come to the ring to very little reaction. At this point, very little, because he was supposed to be the good guy, and he had music and shit, and he'd come out the rebel Dick Slater, and it's like everyone was like, huh? Like you could be a good guy in the South, like the Freebirds, and maybe that's it too, because 2 years before that, in '84, the Freebirds were there for like a month in New York, and they had the whole Confederate flag robes. They had like the sequin capes that they just pulled it out, and it would be a giant stars and bars, and they were good guys. So maybe they were thinking that was still okay. I don't know, but they also had more charisma. Now, Dick Slater, back in the old territories, he had charisma. I don't know if he was just embarrassed in the WWF of what they were having him do, or embarrassed about his gimmick or what, but he was like he was so boring. And he was so boring as a kid. He's like, he had the charisma of a folded napkin. He's just sitting there. He just came in and he was just kind of look on his face like, man, I'm a tough guy. That's fine. But there was no oomph to it. He had he'd take the Confederate flag shirt off. He's just kind of pudgy and just not fat, but just kind of not ripped either. He was just kind of like nothing to latch on to as a child to like him. So, and it was weird too. He was always a bad guy, and he's good at it. And we'll make you a good guy.
Perfect.
It's the way it's going to be. Very strange here. He was on a couple of things. He was at the big event, which was a giant. I think there was 65,000 people there in Toronto in '86, where he won a match there. He was also on an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, where Don Morocco beat the shit out of him in 2 minutes. Yeah, in '86. And then, so that was pretty much the only moments in WWE. He really, WWF at the time, he really didn't do too much, and we find out what happened. That was back in the days where we said they would go on the road for months at a time and never come home in WWE. Because it wasn't like the other territories where they drive. This was all flying everywhere. You'd be in LA one night and fucking Maine the next, and then in Minneapolis the day after that. It was brutal. He says, quote, "I didn't stay there that long with that gimmick." As you see, he say he hated that thing. "I was out of there. I just survived there. Actually, I worked worked 98 straight nights in a row there. Finally, I was in Seattle, Washington, and I got on an airplane and flew back to Florida and went down to the Keys again. Pat Patterson, who was the booker down there in WWF, called me. He was the booker, and he asked me what I was doing. I told him I was out of there. I quit, and I'm going fishing. Didn't give a fuck. Take your Confederate flag and wipe your ass so that I'm done. That happened to a lot of guys there. They'd come in and they'd be there for 3 months.
Fuck it, I'm fishing.
Yeah. They'd be there for 3 months. They're like, I haven't had a day off yet. I'm leaving. This is crazy. And they just fucking go home. You had to be a certain level of crazy to last in WWE back then. So he leaves and he goes back into the territories in June of 1987. This is early June of 1987. He has some legal troubles, we'll say here. Jesus Christ, this is fucking crazy. There's a guy named Bruce Sierra, who he thinks he's just hanging out at the Old House restaurant on East Ocean Avenue in Florida. That's all he's doing. It's June 10th, 1987. This Bruce Sierra, he's watching as Slater is trying to row a dinghy out to a boat anchored offshore. So at some point, as he was trying to do it, apparently Slater knocked the boat over and tipped his dinghy. He tipped his Richard Dick Darrell Dingle dinghy out over. Apparently Bruce Sierra here, helped Dick Slater pull the dinghy out of the water and drain it. So Slater then tried to row out again and fucking did it again.
God, Jesus.
So by this time, this is in front. There's a big beach bar that's now watching all this. At this point, I guess a bunch of people start laughing at him. And this is an angry guy, and they're laughing at him. And I guess he said Dick waded out of the water to like start coming toward the bar to start kicking people's asses. And this Bruce Sierra guy just helped him with the boats. Like, hey man, calm down. It's okay. Like, relax. So at that point, he said what Dick did was pick him up and body slam him.
Oh Jesus!
And for real,
in front of everybody,
in front of the bar. He said he didn't. This guy said, I'm out 6 foot tall, 185 pounds. He goes, before I knew it, I was just in the air. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like he said, quote, next thing I knew, I was flying through the air with the greatest of ease, but there wasn't any trapeze. So he didn't know what was happening.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he didn't know who Dick Slater was. Didn't know he was a wrestler. He just know this giant guy just body slammed him. I mean, Dick's 6'1", but he's 235, and he looks fucking sturdy.
And he does this a lot.
Yeah, he's real sturdy and tough and shit. And he thought it was a little odd, that he got body slammed there and didn't. It was like, what the fuck here? He said he slams him to the ground. The slam breaks Sierra's knee.
Oh fuck!
Broke this guy's knee, because in real life, when you do that, like in public, you hurt people. They're not ready for it. And I guess this ended his career as a mate on a shipping boat.
Oh no.
He said, quote, he did mess up my life really bad, who just started working as a construction worker because it's the only job he could get after that. So Slater is charged with aggravated battery. He says of the whole thing, Dick does, quote, it's just a minor case. I'm not guilty of the charge. It's nothing serious.
Okay.
That's aggravated battery is a pretty good charge.
It's nothing serious. Tell that to that dude's knee that doesn't work anymore.
No shit, man. So, he's arrested and he misses his August 21st arraignment also on this. He misses a court date because he's in Japan. He's not going to miss a payday over there. So the judge issues an arrest warrant for him and he's going to plead innocent to the whole thing later. And I mean, this is obviously crazy, this whole shit. It's super crazy. He's been shot by a friend by accident and a lot of craziness. He's body slamming people out of the water, but it's not as crazy as the sales, Jimmy. The sales that are happening at this point in time will blow your mind. In this Tampa newspaper from 1987. So if you happen to be in the Tampa, Florida area in February of 1987 right now, you're going to want to, don't miss these sales.
Okay.
You want to get down to Dan's Fan City.
Oh boy.
Dirty Dan's Fan City here. He says, quote, it's America's largest fan and vacuum store chain. So that's something where you can get brass and ceramic lamps, over 22 different styles in stock, Jimmy. So this isn't some standard fucking lamp, floor lamps, table lamps, desk lamps, miniature lamps.
What? Isn't that a desk lamp?
I think a mini tiny one from $5.99, Jimmy. You're not going to fucking beat that. Best in the U.S., they claim. Not going to beat that. Also, you want to get down to Delray TV, because this is very important. Specially priced Zenith VCR. Now, Jimmy, This is a high-quality electronic piece of equipment here. 4-head VHS HQ recorder with remote programming. It says here that you can, quote, tune directly from your armchair.
All right.
So, I mean, that's a plus here. A 2-week 4-event timer. You can set 4 timers on this thing if you're going out of town.
Remember when an armchair was a big deal?
Yeah, you got an armchair. Channel scan, on-screen display, Jimmy. So it's going to have a time flashing for 20 years until they get a
Every
DVD
time
player.
the power goes out.
Until they get a DVD player, just forever. And if that's not enough, are you sold yet?
I'm in already.
You're in, but
just for the light in the middle of the night flashing,
that's the thing.
so I can see my way sporadically to the pisser.
So you can have a fucking goddamn seizure.
In the middle of the night.
Jesus, I'm seizing in the hallway.
As if I wasn't going to piss my pants already. Now I'm for sure going to do it.
Thanks for the epilepsy, Zenith. Well, Jimmy, if you're not ready yet, I'm going to reel you in right now, because with the purchase of this VCR, you get a free video club membership.
Oh.
VHS tapes with the purchase of any video recorder, over 12,000 titles to choose from.
How's about
so
that?
you can do that. Regular, $499. $499 regular for a fucking VCR. On sale, $399.
Jesus Lord.
Holy shit.
Sweet fuck. But listen, you get a free membership to the
video
Blockbuster
club. So, I mean, that's something. You used to have to pay. And then if that's not enough for you, stay down at Delray TV for Zenith's 19-inch remote color TV. It's a quality piece of equipment. Regular $699 to now only $499, and it says under it a steal.
Yeah.
4 to 19-inch fucking TV.
For $800, you get a 19-inch TV and a VCR.
You can get a 47-inch TV for fucking $499 now, and it's awesome, and it has the internet.
It's amazing.
This
and
thing's a piece of shit.
You don't have to put anything in it.
No, this thing sucks, man. Holy shit! Some of these TV, 25-inch stereo TV is $739.
My Christ!
Regular $1189.
Wow!
Holy shit! Wow! Thank God we don't live in the 80s.
Happened?
Fuck. So, August of 1987, after he's done his shopping, he did his shopping, obviously. He does his shopping. He is sued by this man.
Yeah.
So not only does he have aggravated battery charges, but he also is being sued civilly by this man in court. December 1987, he goes into court, and I love the newspaper account of this. This is a fucking great newspaper. It's so shitty. Mm-hmm. The journalism here is just, it's thick like a stew.
Yeah.
It says, quote, on Friday, the rebel, quote, sat in the front row of the courtroom in his rattlesnake skin boots, linen jacket, and citizen's watch with a black band that looked more like the tread of a snow tire.
Oh, boy.
Thanks for setting the scene, dickhole.
This guy really loves his outfit.
Dude, he's got a novel at home he's working on.
The only part he missed was he looked the balls.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was just trying to really be like, flowery with his language. Like he wanted to say it was a misty morning across the plains or some shit. Like he has a novel he's working on.
But instead he's got to write about a wrestler on trial.
A wrestler in court for body slamming a man at a beach bar for making fun of his dinghy skills.
I'm going to give this a go with my descriptive language. Fuck it. What's he wearing?
No, that looks like more like the tread of a snow tire. So at this whole thing, the judge agrees to continue his trial until February 1988. Meanwhile, the Sierra guy, the victim here, receives a letter from the state of Florida. It's the Florida Victim Assistance Program, saying Sierra would not be eligible for money to pay his medical bills because he failed to file a police report within 72 hours of the incident. So Slater... So he's not going to get his medical bills. As Slater, this is, again, I have to quote the newspaper because this guy's an asshole, whoever wrote this. Quote, Slater strolled out of the courtroom after Friday's hearing and down a hallway as stunned wrestling fans stood in awe. Quote, that's the rebel Dick Slater, isn't it? One fan said. I can't believe it. That's him. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Just there was one guy there who recognized him, and he's like, I'm going to quote him.
I can't believe it.
Like, everyone was in awe that this guy who just burnt out of the WWF in a fucking year is whatever. So 1990 ends up in USWA, which that was a fucking mess. That was Memphis, and then they bought Texas there. The Von Erichs out, and then so it was kind of a mix between Tennessee and Texas was kind of still USWA. That was a real confusing thing. Anyway, he wins a title there, so good for him. In the early 90s here, I believe, he starts going out with Luna Vachon.
Yeah.
You know who Luna Vachon is?
I don't.
Luna Vachon looks like the scariest woman you've ever seen in your life. I wouldn't fight her. She's been dead for years, and I wouldn't fight her now. She's a scary woman, and not just because she's scary looking. Her family, she's a Vachon. The Vachons are notoriously scary people. Mad Dog Vachon was an Olympic wrestler and one of the craziest son of a bitches in the world. Remember the story I told you about the guy in the plane that was like trying to hanging out of the plane and all that? That's Mad Dog Vachon. That's her uncle.
That's her uncle.
Yeah. So
that's her family. That's her bloodline.
Her father's name is Butcher Vachon.
Jesus.
So yeah, they look like the most hideous people in the world, and she's no different. She's just a fucking, she's muscular as shit. She has half of her head shaved all the time. The other half is like fucking crazy colors. She looks like a future person. She looks like she's from Mad Max, basically. And
she's a Demolition Man.
Yeah. And she is as tough as fucking nails. Like nobody fucks with her.
She had tires on her shoulders.
Yeah. That's how she comes to the ring pretty much in every different incarnation, every different territory. But she always plays like a kind of like a future, like they're from the Dr. Dre California video.
Yeah.
That's what they
California
look. Yeah, that's what she looks like. Yeah, that's what she looks like. She's wearing like Tupac's outfit from that shit. Like got like a
have a tire,
shoulder pads, and half a tire, and a fucking eye patch for some reason.
Yeah, for no reason. You got both eyes. You're great. And it's just to keep the sand out of this one. And when this one gets sand in it, I'll just flip it.
I only want to see half of shit.
What the fuck was that? It's the dumbest fucking video ever.
Oh my god!
And it made no sense. Like, I can't believe we let that slide. That's ridiculous.
Isn't that fucking amazing?
That video is so dumb.
It's it's so stupid. I was really not a fan of that shit. But Tupac was real excited.
Yeah, he seemed to be jacked
fresh
about
out
the
of jail.
buggy.
He was excited.
Fresh out of jail on bail. Is that what it said? Yeah, out on bail. That's what he said.
Dream. Yeah. So.
He was jacked about it.
He was all
telling
jacked.
me I'm out of jail on bail and I get a dune buggy?
There's food here?
This is fucking great.
They got craft services? Shit, awesome.
Somebody give me an eye patch.
Where's the eye patches? Hey, where's the eye patch guy? Everybody got a fucking eye patch but me.
Somebody saw B.F. Goodrich in half and put it on my arm.
Calling me a pussy saying I got two good eyes? Fuck that shit. No, get the tea kettle and make a hat for me out of it. That's what I want. A metal hat.
Ridiculous.
Not a helmet so much, but a metal hat.
Just askew. Just
a little bit. So
I want to look like the
weird.
fucking Tin Man.
Yeah, I want to look like the Tin
Michelin Man.
The Tin Man fucked the Michelin Man and then went to fight Mad Max in Thunderdome. That's what I want this shit to look like. Yeah. That's exactly it. So, fuck, man. So he's going out with Luna Vachon. So this is the toughest couple in the history of the world.
Yeah.
These two together can fucking take a whole bar full of people. This is dangerous. So he says, one time, her and I took my boat over to a tiki bar. I got out of the boat and the boat turned over. Another time, he can't do with boats here. I slammed into the seawall and cut my feet on barnacles. So that's what he says. Somebody grabbed me from behind to pick me up, and Luna ended up getting in a fight with three guys behind the bar. She was fighting three guys, and I finally had to break it up.
All right, two of you, fine.
No,
three, that's unfair.
No. She had to pull her. He had to pull her off of them.
Oh boy.
No, she was winning the fight
easily.
He said, "Oh, you're kicking the. That's enough. You've beat these guys up senseless.
These are not good odds. They need two more friends."
The interviewer asked, "Was she holding her own?" He said, "She was, but the police finally got there, and of course, the only one that got arrested was me. For public intoxication.
Wow,
it was so bad they let me go, and I went to the Florida Keys right from there. Luna and I laughed about that, but that's the extent of any trouble I've ever been in." That's what he says.
Whoops.
So
except for that part where you body slammed.
Except for the body slamming of the dude, and then something else we'll talk about later. Okay. But he admitted this, but this is fucking hilarious. So she gets out, someone's trying to help him, and she goes, "I'll beat everybody up here," and does. Imagine most guys that have a wife that starts fights with people, you're like trying to pull her away because then you got to fight people. You're worried about, she's going to really hurt these guys. I better get her off of them. Like, those three guys are in danger. She's going to hurt them. That's fucking hilarious. So after that, he goes to WCW in 1991, and that's, the big TBS Turner thing there. And summer of '91, he and Dick Murdoch get together as a tag team.
Right.
The Dirty Dicks. No, they're the hardliners are what they call themselves. It's a pretty tough team.
You can't be two dudes named Dick and have hard in your fucking name ever.
Dirty Dick the Hardliner? Yeah, no.
God, Jesus.
No. You can't be Dirty Dick the Hardliner. That's not going to fucking work at all.
Nothing veiny, nothing vascular, nothing shaftable, no name that
just nothing phallic. Nothing that's a
steer clear.
The swordsman, nothing like that. You can't be. There's a lot of things you can't be.
God damn it.
You can't be fireman.
No.
With your hoses. None of that shit's going to work. You're a lot of gimmicks that you're limited on, but they're the hardliners. Wow.
Oh boy.
So they're like that for a while, and then they break up after a while as Dick Murdoch kind of comes in and out of wrestling. He's getting old by then. On 4th of July one time in 1992, he teams with Greg the Hammer Valentine in the over the fucking past their prime team of all time there. Valentine was way done, and which he still wrestles now.
Right.
Valentine and Slater had, when he went to WCW, he was kind of just a mid-range guy. He wasn't anything special anymore. On TV, he just didn't stand out with some of these guys. That's when they got like Vader in there, and they had like all these, just a bunch of Sting and Vader and all these guys, and he just didn't stand out being Dirty Dick Slater with a, with a puss on his face, just standing there, some sour puss. But they beat Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Big Josh, who I think was Matt Bourne, who was Doink the Clown later on. They beat them in a tag match. That's their tag team. And then later he and the Barbarian, Dick and the Barbarian, Dick and a Barbarian challenged. They beat the Fabulous Freebirds, who was Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes by that point, and win the U.S. Tag Team Championships. That's kind of his last hurrah as being like a thought of as anything that was meant anything to the roster here. So he does that. Then they end up retiring that title, and they never. So you win belts, and they go, we're going to go ahead and put them in a closet. You're not that anymore. So then they go on. He teams with a lot of guys, and they lose a lot. Basically, they beat shitty guys on TV, and then after a while, they're the shitty guys on TV that get beat. They get beat at one point by Jim the Anvil Neidhart and the Junkyard Dog in 1993. So those guys were, Junkyard Dog was way done by then. Christ, he looked terrible by then. He was fucking fat.
He looked bad in '87.
Yeah, he was fat and bald, and things were not falling apart for JYD. Sure. And Jim the Anvil was kind of past his prime at that point, too. And also Dick Slater teamed with Paul Orndorff, who was, again, he was past his prime. He's got a nerve problem in his neck, so one of his arms is half the size of the other one.
Awesome.
So he looks weird out there. So that was his problem here. He gets beat by Davey Boy Smith, Dustin Rhodes, and Sting one night with him and a couple of partners there. But like I said, he just kicks around. He never really gets into any feuds or anything that's of any anything that has any meat that anybody would, that big feud with Dick Slater and so like that. What didn't happen back then. He teams with Bobby Eaton for a while. 1994, he's arrested for domestic violence. I cannot find any information on this other than the fact that he was arrested for domestic violence in Pinellas County in 1994, and the charges are eventually dropped. But we don't know any of the details there. But there was some domestic incident there.
Is he married to Luna?
No, he's not married to Luna. He's married twice, and there's a lot of sites that say he was married to Luna, but I don't think he was actually married to Luna. I think he's married to two women who were not in the wrestling business, and then also he went out with Luna and Linda and everybody else. So he continues through the 90s, and they keep him employed. He's there 94, 95, 96. Like, he's got a job where from 1991 on, he's collecting a paycheck from a corporation. It's WCW too, so you could get shot in the knee and still get a paycheck from these people. Like, he's got an actual job for years, a steady job, which is rare in wrestling, but he pulls it off. He does that. The problem is he, like I said, nothing to latch on to. He teams with Bunkhouse Buck.
What?
That's the worst.
Was he a fucking
I remember
camp
that
counselor?
guy. That's the worst guy. No, he plays like an 1800s, ranch hand.
Jesus.
He's got, like a white dirty shirt with suspenders and like work gloves on.
Stupid.
But he sleeps in the bunkhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a guy named Jimmie Golden who was like an old wrestler, but they repackaged him as Bunkhouse Buck and made these two be like, a couple of rednecks was their thing. And obviously that didn't go anywhere in 1995.
Right.
No one gave a shit about that. So basically he would go on Nitro and get beat all the time. Mm-hmm. Him and a tag team partner of the week would get the shit beaten out of him, and that was that. They'd lose to good tag teams constantly. He fought Ric Flair in 96, though, on an episode of WCW Saturday Night. Ric Flair won to retain the title, but he got to step into the ring with Flair again, which is pretty cool. Through all of that, basically, they bring a new team in and they would beat the shit out of whatever team he was on. Mm-hmm. That was that. Finally, in 1996, in Gainesville, Georgia, for a TV taping, he hurts his back. Uh-huh. And he hurts his back pretty bad. He says he blew out 2 vertebrae. Sounds painful.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I've done it once, man.
Yeah,
that is fucking miserable.
That sounds bad. And
it's not the vertebrae that fucks you up; it's the nerves that come through it, and then it just ruins you.
And try getting body slammed after that or something.
Christ, no.
Like that's
your legs or whatever nerves go through there, arms, legs, neck, whatever. It just doesn't work for several weeks.
No, it's
and you were in so much pain.
It's fucking bad. And they had actually kind of given him a new tag team after that. They had started teaming him up with Mike Enos, who was I don't know if you remember him. Remember the Beverly Brothers in WWF? This terrible tag team.
His last name is one letter away from penis.
Well, it's Dirty Dick and Mike Penis.
Oh my god!
You can't be Dirty Dick and Mike Penis in the same.
What is happening?
They should have been the Hardliners. What's going on? There's so much dick.
There's too much.
This episode is heavy with dick. Be warned. Overflowing with dick. So Slater blows out his vertebrae in Gainesville, Georgia in 96. He said, quote, "I guess the years of abuse just took its toll. I can't pinpoint exactly what happened. It just hurt like hell. I could hardly move, and I haven't wrestled since." So that was that. He says that started it. Then I had one operation. The guy was supposed to be a good surgeon, but he did a real bad job. Then I had another operation done by a surgeon who was supposed to be a real good surgeon, and he did a pretty bad job. There's actually no back surgery that's 100% successful. It's the hardest part of the body to operate on. My last surgery was with the latest technology, but you never know what can happen. It can put you in a wheelchair forever. And that's basically what he's going to do for the next 15 years is have shitloads of back surgeries, be in and out of wheelchairs, and develop a really, really rip-roaring prescription drug addiction.
That'll do it.
Oh, boy. It is fucking deep and hairy. Wait till you hear some of this, like, details of the exact amount of shit that was in his system would kill you, me, and half of our listeners at the same time.
You're right.
Just for what was in his system at one point. In 2000 here, year 2000, I guess his back wasn't responding to treatment. That's when he had some surgeries, and that was another surgery that didn't work. Through that, the late 90s, he was making appearances on wrestling. He made a couple appearances for ECW. Yeah. Not wrestling, though. He was just doing like kind of side stuff and that sort of thing.
Like helping with promos and shit.
And I think he was like coming in the ring acting like a manager or like a second hand, because he's a name. Yeah. In ECW, people remembered him. Yeah, it's a payday, I guess. That's what he was going for here. In 2000, he was saying he still had some wrestling years left. He felt like.
You were born in 51,
man.
Like,
I still have some years left.
You are 49 years old.
That's what he says, but he finds himself on the outside looking in because he's been unable to work out regularly to get into shape, which, you can't. Your back is fucked, man. He says, if not as a competitor, I feel I could do some television work. My number one concern right now is getting my back to the point where I can wrestle again. That's what I'm shooting for. That was in 2000, he said that, which he had been 4 years off of that and all sorts of bad surgeries. Yeah. He was talking about maybe he can go to Japan and wrestle over there. He said because that's where if you're an older American wrestler with a name, they'll pay you twice as much in Japan.
Sure.
So he's like, I can go there, maybe that'll do. He says, quote, Japan just might be my ace in the hole. I always had good success over there. The fans are great, and there's not as much crap to deal with. You can just relax and do your job. I bet. Yeah, but you can't if you're fucking back is destroyed.
No.
You have,
if you can't sit in an airplane seat for Christ only knows how long that is.
Can you imagine that?
Oh, God, no. With
bad surgery, all those
nerve
surgeries.
pain in an airplane seat?
All those surgeries, number one, and you're just like, I think I can wrestle again.
And they're all botched and they aren't working?
Yeah, it's not working. You're full of pain. It's like, I can take enough pills to make it work, I think. Like,
and maybe that's what he's doing. He's just numbing himself and throwing booze back enough to just not feel anything.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm. Well, in 2003, he's quiet for a couple of years. You don't hear a lot from him. Hasn't been wrestling, hasn't been doing anything. Then you hear a lot from him in 2003. You hear a lot from him because he's arrested for attempted murder.
Oh, boy.
Which is kind of a big charge. That's a biggie. That's not a little thing. He, with the authorities alleging that he repeatedly stabbed his ex-girlfriend with an 8-inch butcher knife.
Oh, boy.
So not good at this point. He's 52 years old. It is an 8-inch kitchen butcher knife. Used it to stab 41-year-old Teresa Halbert in her own home in Largo. At the time, apparently he was moving out the last of his shit out of her house because they had broken up.
I can see how this went.
And then some...
Yeah, you get out, motherfucker. I will get out after this.
Right. Fuck, tell you, I could see the last box in his hand. He's walking out the door and he turns back and puts it on the kitchen table and shit. I could see it happening.
Pulls the knife out of the box. I was taking this shit with me.
No, I was taking this anyway. You can keep it. And stabs her with it and fucking leaves her there. Yeah. Stick it out of your torso. Enjoy.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Repeatedly stabbed her.
And
with she lived.
8-inch butcher knife. Yeah, that's how fucked up he was. He couldn't even get
Bad
that job.
stabs.
Bad stabs.
Yeah.
Well, according to the Largo police, Slater went to Halbert's home about noon on a Saturday to pick his shit up that he'd left there before they broke up. Once he got inside, he pushed her to the bedroom floor, and basically, didn't take long. Like, it wasn't any build up. He just pushed her down and stabbed her in the left knee to begin with. She begged for mercy at that point, and he stabbed her some more. Is what happened. He stabbed her some more and then just kind of sat there and just kind of looked at her.
Yeah.
After the stabbing, he overdosed on pain medication that he was prescribed for his injuries. He was the police ended up finding him in some neighbor's house down the street here. They said he would remain in a hospital in police custody before he's medically cleared to go to jail because he had an OD thing.
Right.
And Halbert was treated for 3 stab wounds and released eventually. Her statement on the whole thing, she gets out of the hospital and talks to the Tampa Tribune about it and gives a statement of what the fuck happened down there.
That is awesome.
I'll tell you my side. Yeah. She said she got home. She said she allowed him to pick up his clothes. He had clothes over there, and they were over there for several months after they'd broken up. So she told him he could come get his clothes. After he asked her to help him get the clothes out of a bag in her bedroom because he can't move around that well, she said he came up behind her with a knife and punched her in the head, knocking her to the ground. Not with the knife, with a fist, but he had a knife too. He then sat astride her as she lay on the floor, and when she grabbed the knife, he turned her over and stabbed her in the back, she said. Stabbed her in the back, stabbed her in the arm, and stabbed her in the leg. Then he got off of her and told her he wanted to lie on her bed so he could, quote, watch her bleed to death.
Oh, boy.
Which is really fucking scary when you have a big, scary dude who seems to be fucked up on something.
And just plunged a knife into you at least 3 times.
At least 3 times, and then goes, I'm just going to chill and watch you bleed to death. That's frightening because you don't know if you're going to bleed to death.
And she's probably spilling a lot of blood at this point.
I'm sure she is. She's been stabbed in the back and the fucking leg and the arm. She's got to be blood everywhere coming out of every part of her. She said that she started begging at that point. She told him that she still loved him. She said she even tried to kiss him as a ploy to get him out of the bedroom so she could call 911. She's like, no, it's fine. Yeah, I like bleeding from the fucking chest.
This is hot.
It's great. I love it when knives are sticking out of me. It's fantastic. She said, I just kept begging him. That's what I used. I wasn't going to use anger because I didn't want to die. He's an ex-wrestler, so he gets angry real quick. You know, been hitting the head a whole fucking bunch. And this guy is right in that whole thing here. She, I guess Slater then told her that he was going to kill himself. And she said that she didn't want him to do that, but she had to call 911 for her injury. She said, I don't want you to kill yourself, but I got to call 911, you know, so I don't die and stuff. You know how it is when you're stabbed with a butcher knife. I guess he was like, okay, and then he left. He was like, that's cool. You just do that. I'll just take off. And so she called for help at 12:17 p.m. She said I was nice enough to let him come get his clothes, but he wigged out on me, which is a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
That's the most mild description of being stabbed with an 8-inch butcher knife 3 times. Wigged out.
Unless he was wearing a wig at the time.
Imagine that. That'd be like a fucking, a school shooting, 12 dead, and the news guys like the child was said to have wigged out in the school today. I don't know. It's less than that. Yeah. They had been together for 7 years, apparently, these two. They got together right at the end of his wrestling career. Now, what does he say about this?
Oh, I'd love to know.
What's his fucking version of this crazy story? The police have a version.
Yeah.
She has a version. It's pretty close to the police's version.
Yeah.
What's he got to say? He says, when he asked about it, quote, I mean, I'd really like to say a lot of things about it. You know what I mean? It was all drug related, most of it. I mean, I couldn't tell you what happened if I didn't know what happened. He says, I really don't know what actually took place other than I woke up in the intensive care in the hospital. I had gone to the hospital by ambulance the night before. So now he's talking about the night before. This is a hard thing to follow because we're talking about a guy who does a lot of pills.
Yeah.
So follow this shit.
Okay.
He says he had gone to the hospital by ambulance the night before he went and stabbed Teresa. So he says they had given me a shot of morphine, and when I went to the emergency room, they apparently gave me 2 40-milligram Oxycontins on top of that.
Oh boy!
And on top of that, I was already on Vicodin and Klonopin and Neurontin.
That's too much.
So in the ambulance, shot of morphine, already had 2 40-milligram oxys, which are a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a whole lot.
Especially if you've already had morphine jacked into your system intravenously. And on top of that, he's already on, and who knows how many handfuls of Vicodin, Klonopin, and Neurontin.
Yeah.
So he is fucking loaded up. Oh, by the way, he's not done. Then he says, they had a drug called Avinza, which is a morphine-based pain pill. Plus, I had nerve damage and I could hardly walk, and I had a hurt neck. I had spinal stenosis in my neck. So I was in real bad shape. And when they did all that, they let me out of the hospital. They put me in a friend of mine's car, and I ended up at his house. I couldn't tell you what happened from there. That's what he said. Like I was saying, I woke up in the hospital later, and I was pretty messed up. So he says that was the whole thing. To this day, that's all I remember. And so the interviewer said, so you're saying this whole stabbing thing is just from a combination of lots of legal drugs?
Yeah.
And he says, legally too many. Yes, legally, but too many. He says, I didn't take them myself. That's the whole thing. Quote, I got them shot in me by the ambulance driver and another put in my mouth by a doctor. That's the whole deal. They gave me all those drugs. I mean, I got shot with a shot of morphine. So he's blaming the doctors. He's like, how the fuck am I supposed to not stab my girlfriend?
You drugged me up. That's the side effects. Did you watch the commercials? They said you may stab your girlfriend.
Probably going to find your ex-girlfriend who you've been broken up with for 6 months, ask to get your clothes, and stab her 3 times. That's probably going to happen. Everyone knows that.
You will likely have a short temper.
Yeah. So he talks about the fucking like the hospital, and they should be responsible for it, and you can't sue them because there's some law, and it's wow. So then the interviewer says, this is great. I'll quote the interviewer here. He says, quote, so right before your ex-girlfriend was stabbed, you were taken to the ER at a hospital for some health issues. That actually can be traced back to injuries you had in wrestling. And he says, yeah, I was taken by ambulance from a friend of mine's house to the hospital. On the way there, I was in pain. They shot me up with morphine. Then when I got to the emergency room, that's what the medical records say. I remember taking a couple of pills for pain, 40-milligram Oxycontins on top of that. So that's morphine, and another 80 milligrams of synthetic morphine on top of that. Oxycontin is synthetic morphine. And on top of that, I already had Vicodin in me and Klonopin and Neurontin. So he said, quote, I was taking Vicodin for pain normally right after my operation. I tell you what happened. I went to have a spinal stimulator put in my back by a pain management doctor because I have nerve damage, and that was a major problem. I had no reflexes in my legs at all. I couldn't walk, maybe a city block at the most. That's as far as I could make it. So I figured I would stab my girlfriend. He didn't say the last part, but he might as well have, because that's what he's excusing it with. That's his excuse.
Yeah.
Look, everybody who gets shot up with pain pills goes over and has the idea to stab his girlfriend. Happens all the fucking time. So he says, I went to the emergency room because I was in severe pain. I had to call an ambulance on myself at my friend's house. The pain was so bad, it was right around Christmas. He said they laid me down flat on a board, put me in an ambulance, and took me to the hospital. They sedated me really well. And then after they sedated me and they x-rayed me, that's when they gave me all those drugs. And then they just sent me out the door, you know? Yeah, because you probably had shit insurance or something. They're not going to keep you at the hospital.
And they figure you're okay now. So get the fuck out.
That's kind of what they do. They just load you up with drugs and they push you out the door. That's what, there you go.
Hospital.
Feeling better now? Right. Good. Go.
You don't feel anything? Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, he says that he was never admitted to the hospital. He says, I was overdosed and I went and I was sent home. And then the next morning is when I got in trouble. And later that day I went back to the hospital for the overdose. But I went back to the hospital for overdosing, not because I overdosed myself. All that was given to me. Okay. So I chose not to play football anymore. Is what he said. I had a family to take care of. You know how that works here. So he's like, so the interviewer is so confused. He goes, okay, but I recall the reports I read after your arrest. I was under the impression you overdosed after the incident with your girlfriend. He says, no, it was all based on the medicine they gave me before that. 80 milligrams of oxy. I was already taking the prescribed drugs like we talked about, which are types of narcotics. From what I read in the medical books, you're not supposed to mix narcotics with benzodiazepines, seizures, drugs for seizures. They say don't take this drug with this drug and this drug, but if you take them anyway, because the doctor gives you those drugs. No, usually you have a chart and it says what you're on, and then they don't give you reactive drugs.
Why are you doing research on the drugs that you have?
That's the other thing.
That's your doctor's job.
But yeah, you don't worry about that. He says,
why do you have medical books?
Yeah, you, of all people. Put them away, Chief. Let's go. I chose not to be a doctor because I needed to make a living for my family. Well, then, whose fault is it when there's something wrong with you because of all these drugs? I mean, that's what I don't understand. I've never been in trouble in my life for anything.
Except for A,
B, C, and D, and fucking Q, and I got shot in the leg for no reason. So finally he says, I can't actually say what happened because I don't even remember what happened. I don't know what happened. My ex-girlfriend could say what happened more than I could.
That is the most honest thing he said.
Finally.
It's about time.
My ex-girlfriend could tell you.
Well, you don't want her story being the story.
Whatever she said, fucking that.
That's a bad story, sir.
That's it.
Dick, you don't want that story.
You don't want that story at all. And so, I mean, well, what the fuck, man? So now he's all fucked up in the back with his goddamn oxys and everything else. He's loaded up with Vicodin. He's goddamn sitting there. It's really a fucking mess. And he's watching TV, actually, is the thing, because he's got nothing better to do. Yeah. So he's just watching TV, and he's down south there, and he's just watching, flicking through the channels, and a commercial catches his eye. Yeah. It's a commercial for Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge, baby. And it says, Dick, how is it you've come to arrive here? How is it you come to arrive here, Dick? How is it? Now you're sitting in that chair rather than getting on down to Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge. Datsun and Daihatsu
and Daewoo
for a new Dodge Ram truck. I'll put you in this truck today, Dirty Dick. You get the Dirty Dick discount. That is the Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge Daihatsu and Datsun discount.
And defunct Daewoo.
And defunct Daewoo. And I'll give you a discount on a Dart. All Dodge Darts on sale today.
What the fuck is happening?
If you had a Dart with you, or a Daewoo, either one, if you had any of these vehicles, I don't think this would have happened, Dick. I think you'd have felt better about yourself and you wouldn't have stabbed nobody. So, thank you very much. Y'all come on down to Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Daihatsu Dodge Datsun dealers today in Delray Beach. Poof. Dick turns the TV off in disgust.
Because he's having a Zenith seizure.
He's like, what the fuck? I paid $4.99 for the Zenith, fucking $400 for the goddamn VCR.
Jesus Christ.
Received nothing from my video membership. This is bullshit.
A seizure. Motherfucker.
That is great. We have got to get, by the way, a Dirty Dick dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge fucking t-shirt.
A garage
we need that
shirt.
bad, or garage something. We need it
ones
bad.
that are button up with the fucking like.
Yeah, like a race. Yeah, like a race team. Yeah, we need those fucking
That
bad,
is
dude.
awesome.
'Cause that's funny as shit. I will wear one of those all the time. Holy shit.
I want Daihatsu, Datsun, and defunct
all of
Daewoo
them,
across the
just
back.
every D, just this long thing of fucking D's. It's the guy standing there with his arms out. Eh? Come on, Dick. We got engaged at the same time, buddy. Things worked out for me. I got me the largest Dodge Daihatsu, Datsun, and defunct Daewoo dealership in the entire South Florida area. Damn it! And what are you doing?
If the dealership's not the
Nothing.
biggest, I'll bet a T-bone steak my sign's the biggest.
That's the biggest goddamn sign there is. I fit it all on there, buddy.
Holy fuck.
Oh, my goodness. So what ends up happening here? They ask him about that. He says, quote, "My first plea was not guilty to attempted murder at the arraignment." Okay.
All right.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
He said it went from there to I pled insanity. Fair enough.
I'm not guilty to fucking I'm crazy.
Fuck it. I don't know. I don't know. He said the way insanity law is here, I had to go in front of 4 or 5 state doctors, plus I had a certain amount of time to do a certain amount of things. I don't know what that's real fucking, I don't even know what he's talking about there. What does that mean? Yeah. At the time of the incident, I was definitely on drugs, but the state seemed to think that I was on street drugs. But the medical records completely show that everything I was on was prescribed by a doctor or given to me by a hospital. Mm-hmm. The records said I had 5 back operations. I had just got done having another back operation about a month before that. What they did was, they were going to put in a spinal stimulator, and they stuck me in the wrong place when they put it in. So that's what he's saying. Mm-hmm. So finally, June 10th, 2004, the whole thing gets taken away here as he decides to plea. He pleads no contest to 1 count of aggravated battery, and that's what they give him here because her wounds weren't life-threatening. So they're like, all right, you didn't. Yeah. She's fine. It's whatever.
You mean he stabbed her like a pillhead?
Yeah, just like kind of half-assed.
Like he was a little tired.
He's like, I don't know.
Like a heroin addict.
Hold on, I'm gonna lay down. I'm gonna lie down for a minute.
I need a nap.
You bleed out or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lie down. And he is sentenced to you, sir, may fuck off a year of house arrest.
That's weak.
It's not really a fuck off situation.
Yeah.
Go home and watch TV.
Fuck off out of my
fuck
courtroom.
off out of here, I guess. Followed by 2 years of probation.
Okay.
So that's something there. Oh, and he has to pay. He's ordered to stay away from the victim, restraining order against her. He has to pay restitution, fines, investigative and court costs of more than $1,800.
Okay.
So basically, he has to stay home for a while.
Right.
That's his punishment. Who cares? That's not that bad for.
Pretty solid for a dude that needs some rest anyway.
And he could have killed a woman very easily by accident and not even known he did it. Right. And so he said, quote, "I had to plead to what I pled, because I had to get out of jail. Finally get out of jail, He was in jail the whole time, awaiting sentencing. He was on a $100,000 bond, and he had no fucking money, so he just sat there awaiting shit. The interviewer said, "What did you actually plead to?" And he said, "I don't know, aggravated battery, I think."
I pled to get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you pled to aggravated battery. Good call. I don't know. What are you kidding me?
Wow. They just read it to you, man.
I don't know what I pled to. You stood up in a court of law and said, "I did this crime," and then you don't know what crime that is. So he says, so I'm almost, this was during this interview he was almost off house arrest. He said, "I'm almost off house arrest now. I'm still on house arrest, but I go back to court soon and hopefully get that removed." He said, quote, "The whole thing of it was, in all the legal proceedings, what transpired with me physically due to the medications they had me on was never ever brought up. That really bothers me because I'd asked for my medical records and they were never produced. I never saw one record there at all. The medical records were never mentioned one time in all the legal things brought up because none of them stabbed a woman. That's why it doesn't fucking matter.
None of those
they don't care.
None of those injuries and medical records say side effects include stabbing women.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it wasn't No, you just don't. They didn't do it. Yes, you were fucked up. Yes, whatever, but you still went over there. And yeah, maybe the hospital shouldn't have released you. And I'm not absolving the hospital of anything here, but
definitely not absolving you either.
I don't think this happens every time they release somebody high on fucking painkillers here.
Very rare.
So he says, if I wanted to go all the way to trial at one time, and then I got threatened with, if you lose the case, the years, I said, well, I'm not going to lose. I said, how can I lose if you let me out now, or if you let me out now and I'm taking a lesser charge? If you had so much on me and didn't think I was all screwed up, why are you letting me out at all? You know what I mean? I don't have to tell you anymore, he says. So that was his thing there. He said, I had to sign a piece of paper to the state here saying I couldn't make any money off of my story. When they made me sign that, it made me think of that maybe they didn't have as good a case as me, on me as I thought they did.
No, they had a great case.
They had a great case. They just made you, I don't know what he's talking about.
They've got it wrapped up so tight, you're not making any money off this shit.
You have a knife that you were using. The woman said you stabbed her, and you say, I don't remember. Whatever she says is probably what happened. You lose, period. That's it. He says, my ex-girlfriend testified in my favor at a deposition. She felt bad for him.
I guess.
She was a witness on my side, along with 2 doctors and a lawyer. If I'd gone to trial, I think I'd have gotten off on the whole thing, but I would have had to sit in jail for another, who knows how long.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are innocent, a lot of them in jail right now. I'll tell you another thing. I had to go through the whole thing on 1 Motrin a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I do know what you mean.
Yeah, he said there's no rehabs in jail. I was fighting the law, fighting the pain, fighting the legal system, fighting to stay alive. There were a few times that I thought I might not make it, but I just wanted to make it, so that's why I made it.
That is awesome.
We both looked at each other and we're like, that was crazy, right? Yeah,
that's certainly not sane, right? That's not a normal person.
I wanted to do that, so I did it. That's why I did it. Okay, great. And you fucking didn't want to play football anymore because there was no team, even though there was. Awesome. Okay. He said, Jesus Christ, man. He said, I came out fighting. I've never been a quitter. You've never seen me be a quitter. Then they said, I suspect you had to dig down deeper. They're saying you had to try to, mentally it was as hard on you. He says, it was real bad. I got let out of my cell the first 4 or 5 months when I was in there, maybe 15 minutes a day. That was it, buddy. I was locked in. I was there by myself, protective custody. They cut the phone off and I couldn't call anybody. It was like living a nightmare. It was a bad deal. Yeah, because you're medically fucking sequestered, or not sequestered, segregated, because you're an easy mark to roll right now.
They could certainly stab you.
Anyone can just push you over. You're fucking fragile. He said, I was locked down, buddy. I wasn't in a good position. I had to fight everybody. It gets to be rather hard, Yeah, I guess so. It's jail.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's easy.
You mean jail?
Mm-hmm. You mean, punishment?
Yeah, a place they send you.
Fucking idiot.
Because they're mad at you? Yeah, that one. Wow. So he said he got back, though. He said, quote, I fought back all the way. I'm going to fight back. I'm sorry. This is amazing. He says, I'm going to fight back. I'd be down about a few things at times. I had everything that I had ever owned taken away from me. All right. I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost every dime I had in the bank. I lost my car. I lost everything. I lost my clothes. Everything was gone. Everything I had was gone. Everything. Yeah. I think it's everything. Basically. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 everything.
It's
in like 3 sentences. That's a lot. Yeah. When I walked out of jail, I had 1 pair of pants and a pair of socks and 1 t-shirt.
Well, then it wasn't everything.
It's not everything, Dick. You're wearing pants. Your dirty Dick Slater isn't dangling down. Jesus Christ. So January 2007, shocker, he's back in the news again, and it's not for a good thing. Are you surprised?
Not
you figured
much.
He was governor of Wisconsin or something? No. He said this time he's accused of violating a domestic violence restraining order, an injunction taken out against him by Teresa Halbert, who he stabbed.
She's sticking around?
No, they've had he still has a restraining. He's never allowed to contact her again, and apparently this is 4 years later. In in 2007, he was contacting her again, so he's arrested. Apparently, he called Teresa Halbert 3 times on January 11th, leaving what was described as an innocuous message on the final call. Like, hey, it's Dick. How's it going? Like, just real casual.
Remember me? I still have nightmares. Yeah.
Thanks. Remember.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's good. I still haven't, I don't eat meat anymore because I have to cut it up with something. So.
And I have to see the blood and the juices and not a fan.
I just stick with soft cheeses now. That's all I eat.
From time to time, a piece of chicken.
My digestive system is a disaster. It's just a mess. Let's put it that way.
All the probiotics in here.
Jesus,
I am shitting liquid.
I can fart my way to work. I don't even need a car. I can drive myself there from the gas. Then, I guess, the next morning, Teresa Halbert found an envelope with old bank statements with Dick Slater's name on them in her driveway.
Oh, no.
He just left an envelope with bank statements in her driveway. Like,
that is ominous as fuck.
Let's see how this bitch likes where I go out to lunch every day. She's going to see it now.
See if she likes this negative balance.
Oh, she's going to see my recurring Hulu charge now. How do you like that? Yeah, I get the commercial free. What do you think of that, you goddamn bitch? You could have had that too if you stuck with me. Commercial free, bitch.
Pandora Plus.
That's right. I do it all. I'm classy. So she found that. She found it super creepy after the phone call, so she called the police. Police said they found Slater at a hospital where he was a patient, so he wandered out. Slater told the police officer he could not remember making the phone calls, but he said he might have done so while under the influence of prescription drugs. Lord. He's not sure. So he is so fucked up all the time. He doesn't even remember what the fuck he done. And I believe him.
Yeah.
He was like, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I've been pretty fucked up for a while. Could have been. Yeah, I mean, you might want to ask her. She might know more better than I did.
She probably has a pretty good story.
Once again, I'm just going to defer to her because she stays sober most of the time. She knows things that I don't really know, when you're drunk, when you're shit-faced. So when he's released from the hospital, he's taken to Pinellas County Jail where he remained in custody in lieu of $10,000 bail because he's got no fucking money.
Right.
A lot of these quotes, because there was a lot of quotes from him I got from an interview from MidAtlanticWrestling.net is the interview here, so you can check them out. They have a lot of wrestler interviews if you're interested in that sort of thing, like, shoot interviews basically here. So they ask him later on what he's doing. This is around 2010. He says, I'm riding my bike. I work out. I still have the same problems. I still have the nerve damage, but I can walk. As long as I can walk, I'm all right. So I'm doing a lot better than I was before. I came out of not being able to walk at all for 2 years, 4 or 5 surgeries, and I couldn't walk at all. And I fought back, and I'm still going to keep fighting back. I'm not going to quit. Yeah. I'm working all I can. I'm scraping around trying to sell some boats at a boat lot.
But
that's what he's doing for a living, selling boats. He's a boat salesman. I'm also trying to do some stuff at a car lot. I have a friend helping me out there.
Yeah, is it Dirty Dick Dingus?
It's Dirty Dick. Dude, it's Dirty Dick. It's Dirty Dick Darrell Dingus Dodge, and it is.
Has to be.
The Darrell really is the key to that.
It's the one that sells
it. He says, quote, I take a lot of verbal abuse from some people, but that's okay. Some people are hard on me. Some people are nice. I'm doing all I can do,
Yeah.
What are they doing? Things like, hey, girlfriend, stab her. What are they yelling? Fucking, I don't know. Girlfriend, stab her. Now we have a statement from him. At the end of this interview, they ask him if he wants to make a message for fans. So he makes this recorded message for fans, and this is the transcript of it, and it's fucking golden.
Fantastic.
This is him being put on the spot and saying, basically, do a promo here, say your fans, and this is what he comes out with. Quote, Jesus. I know all you guys in North, South Carolina, and Virginia area know who's speaking on this telephone right here now. He's speaking to whoever is listening here because I know that everybody is listening knows what the name Dick Slater is. I know everybody is thinking, what is Dick Slater doing nowadays? And I know Dick Slater is doing whatever he wants to do nowadays. And I know Dick Slater's got big plans for all you little people out there that want to know what Dick Slater's got planned for you. Well, Dick Slater's got planned for you exactly what Dick Slater's got planned for me. I ain't going to tell you what I got planned for you because you'll never know. Okay?
Well,
because you never know what Dick Slater's going to do in the first place, so how are you going to know what Dick Slater's going to do now?
Oh, my word.
That came out of his mouth.
Wow.
How high was he when he said that?
Absolutely.
The last line should have said, just ask my ex-girlfriend about it because she knows probably better than me. I'm not sure. How many times is the word Dick Slater said in that sentence?
That's amazing.
That's a lot of Dick Slaters, man. Someone out there count the Dick Slaters because we got to move on, but there's a lot of Dick Slaters.
That's a banana statement.
Tweet me the Dick Slater count on that one. 2011, he appears at NWA Fan Fest. These are all these conventions now they're having. Tons of wrestling conventions where they get a bunch of old guys that sign autographs and sell their shit. Yeah, you know how it goes. So, yeah, MC Ren's there. It's a DJ Yella's in the back. He's the big attraction. So he appears there, and he appears there in a wheelchair because he just had a back surgery. Yeah. So people are kind of like, ooh, shit, Dick Slater's in a wheelchair. Now, for him, he probably would have been better off staying in the fucking wheelchair because by October 11th, 2011, he's being arrested for petty theft, retail theft.
Oh, no.
So he's getting arrested for shoplifting, basically.
Fuck.
But it's, I guess, more than shoplifting. It's a dollar amount with that, theft and shoplifting and whatever.
It's over a certain amount.
Yeah, so he's arrested for retail theft in Tampa. They're not terrific. He ends up pleading guilty to this. No trial. He's just adjudicated guilty. So that's it. October of 2011. And then the 4th of July, 2012, he's arrested again for theft. Petty retail theft.
Gross.
Again, he's fucking shoplifting,
God
man.
damn it.
On the 4th of July. That's fucking. Is he doing a beer run?
Stealing mustard?
I don't know, man. That's
depressing.
That's fucking sad.
Yeah.
It's a misdemeanor, class 1. No trial. The case ends up being dismissed later on through something else. I don't know if somebody felt bad for him because you've fallen so low. Tell you what, you keep the Snickers bar.
Right.
Fuck it, because
yours.
I just can't watch you. I can't see you do any more interviews where you say your name in the third person. Maybe they felt bad for him. I don't know. I mean, it's hard not to. He's got the back injuries and everything, but it's easy to not feel bad for him too. There are some other people I feel bad for. Yeah. I don't feel as nearly as bad for him as I feel for Richard Slater, better known as Dick Slater, Chief R&D Officer at Unilever in the United Kingdom. He's got like a real job. Dick Slater, going by Dick Slater, Chief Operating Officer at Virginia Physicians for Women.
He's a COO.
He's a fucking COO of a Virginia Women's Physicians Group in Richmond, Virginia.
Don't stab him, Dick.
And that's in Virginia, too, so that's terrible. Richard Slater, Lancashire Business View, Red Rose Awards, Fettle Events, Limitless PR and Marketing in Somerset in England. And his LinkedIn photo has him talking on his phone. It's like he's very busy, man.
So busy.
Very important. Richard Slater, Head of Creative Services at BBD Perfect Storm. I don't know what that is. Richard Slater, Wind Turbine Service Field Technician.
Jesus.
He's got a very important job. And finally, we got to do one more just because this is fun. Dick Slater, colorectal surgeon.
Oh, my word.
At CCIO at Rothersam NHS Foundation Trust in Sheffield, England.
How funny is that? His name is Dirty Dick Slater.
Dirty Dick Slater.
And,
he'll get all up in your...
And his bad crime is stabbing chicks.
His bad crime is stabbing chicks.
Yeah, that's what you do with the Dirty Dick.
And
you stab him.
And his alter ego is a colorectal surgeon. So it really works perfectly.
Unfucking real.
August 2012, he releases his autobiography called 1,000 Lives, because he said he's led 1,000 lives.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of stories, like we just told you. It's pretty much the same thing. It's only in, well, except without being a good writer.
Yeah.
Mick Foley's a pretty good writer.
Right.
He's pretty smart, and I don't get the same vibe off old Dirty Dick Slater.
I don't think a guy that says everything 6 times in 3 sentences is a great poet.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I know, it's weird, right? It's
Not
on
a literary genius.
It's on me, I think, really, at that point. You know what I mean?
It's an easy read.
It's super easy. You can do it. So, Jesus Christ. February 5th, 2015, Dick is arrested. He's arrested by Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies on a petty theft charge for shoplifting. Again, it's a retail petty theft, scheduled to appear in court on February 25th, but guess what? Doesn't fucking show up for court. So a warrant is issued for his arrest again, and on March 3rd, he's booked into the Pinellas County Jail, where he's being held in a bond of $2,026 for missing his fucking court date for stealing God knows what from God knows who.
Yeah.
2017, there's an interview with him, and he's kind of talking about just this is the wrestling business then and now, and just kind of his whole bow on his whole wrestling that he was involved with. He says, quote, "It's a shame that somebody couldn't just start this territorial wrestling thing all over again. If you're selling out Charlotte, Richmond, and Norfolk, why go all over the place? The wrestlers used to move around, but the cities would stay the same. When I wrestled the Steiners and Harlem Heat for WCW, I was getting stale every night I went out there on national TV. Same thing over and over. And Vince McMahon told the whole country we're entertainers. In Japan, I did that bloody stuff with Terry Funk, death matches and all that. If we did that here, they'd see some real violence, make it real again. How many years did we blood, sweat, and shit to make people think this wasn't entertainment?"
That's not how that sentence
That is
goes.
not. That's why it's hard. How many years did we blood, sweat, and shit?
That's a heroin addict talking.
I think bleed. Where did shit come from? You're mixing that with the blood and the sweat. That's making quite a disgusting cocktail. It says, to make people think it wasn't entertainment, it only takes one person to ruin something, and we'll take that ruin to the grave.
Yeah.
So he's blaming Vince McMahon for destroying wrestling. Destroyed the territorial system by far, but now it's a different thing.
Right.
So it is what it is. There's no shoe cobblers either.
Right.
It sucks. It would be better for fans probably, too, to have more options of wrestling and have more different guys, and then the guys would have more experience, and then when they are on
a farm system.
Yes, so then when they are on WWE, they didn't just get trained by WWE and get stuck up there. But those are the guys they like, though. They like the guys that they've trained and they've brought in, guys who know what the fuck they're doing. You get a guy like fucking Cassius Ohno, who did it for years and years and is in fucking 12th year, 14th year in the business and knows what the fuck he's doing. It's like, well, but he's not our guy.
Right.
Well, they NXT him. He does well and they do good stuff with him, but he's a fucking giant guy. In the 80s, that guy would have been a fucking star in any period. Just on his size and agility, he would have been a fucking total star and charisma. By the way,
and handsome fucking face.
He's a cool motherfucker. Yeah. Dude, that guy can talk, by the way. I saw there's a documentary they just put out on Tom McGee and Bret Hart. It's this match. Tom McGee was supposed to be the next Hulk Hogan in Vince McMahon's mind. Jacked up dude who could do backflips off the top rope and shit. Real amazing guy. And I ended up fizzling out and never becoming anything. But he had one match that everybody said was incredible that made Vince McMahon go, that's going to be my next champion. And it was with Bret Hart. Yeah. And this match was lost since 1986.
Oh, no.
It was gone.
Yeah.
No one had ever seen it. Like, wrestlers had requested it from the WWE library, and it was never there.
Right.
It was gone. Like, totally got erased. Finally, Bret Hart, they found it in his personal tapes.
Everybody to see it?
No, he didn't know he had it.
Oh.
He just had it in his own personal tapes of all of his matches. He just had tapes of all of his matches. Yeah. And so in his own personal stash of tapes, he told his assistant, hey, can you put all my shit on DVD for me or put it on digital for me? And the assistant found the match in there and released it. And it was like the holy grail of wrestling shit. And they did a whole documentary on it on WWE Network. And Cassius Ohno is one of the main talking heads on there. And dude's fucking smart as shit and well-spoken. And they need to do more shit with him there. So, yeah. So, anyway, he says that. He says, it's ruined. And that was in 2017. And then speaking of ruined, on October 18th, 2018, Dirty Dick is dead.
Oh, no.
Dirty Dick dies. Oh, no. Dirty Dick is dead.
Okay.
The cause of...
Ding dong, the Dirty Dick is dead.
Ding dong, Dirty Dick is dead. The cause of death is still kind of
probably an overdose.
Unknown. They don't know if it's an overdose, kind of organ shutting down. So much shit wrong with him, he just stopped.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It was just
quit.
like, that's enough.
Yeah.
So it never really.
Sometimes the dick can't go on.
It can't go on, man. Sometimes you got to give the dick a night to rest. That's just the way it is. You got to give it the rest of the evening. It's seen action today. It's going to rest. So, the WWE releases a statement here about the whole thing. They say Slater was a prolific, Dick Slater. Slater was a prolific competitor during the 1970s and 1980s in Georgia Championship Wrestling, Mid-South Wrestling, and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, even though those are small-time pieces of crap, obviously, compared to what I do, but never mind all that. Right. Where he teamed with WWE Hall of Famer Bob Orton, who, by the way, I made a star. Obviously, no one knew who he was before that. He's wrestling in the middle of Kansas or somewhere. Who gives a shit about that? You come in here, I make you a star, I put you on MTV, damn it, with Rowdy Piper. Now you're somebody. That's right. A memorable rivalry with Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts. I've suspended him so much. I had to bring him back. He's a talented guy, but the cocaine, I'll tell you what. Slater competed there from 86 and 87 before moving to Japan and finishing his in-ring career in WCW. Mm-hmm. That is their statement. Nothing saying he was a great guy or we'll miss him or we love him. It was just like he was a person he wrestled.
This is some shit he did. Goodbye.
They literally said Dick Slater existed.
Yeah.
And now he's not anymore. Now he doesn't.
Existed along with these other really great people.
Yeah. Who we like in our Hall of Fame.
Right.
And did we mention that? And all right then, have a good one. That's basically what they said. Speaking of that is Dirty Dick Slater.
My word.
That is a crazy ass wrestling story.
Yeah.
Definitely drugs and probably some brain damage mixed into that whole cocktail
For sure.
of mess, because that's just a fucking mess. That guy was a mess. And I remember Ric Flair saying in an interview that something happened to Dick in the 80s that he wasn't quite the same after that mentally. I don't know if he got sick or if there was something happened, if he got hit in the fucking head or what, but there was something where everybody said he kind of... There's a point in time where Dick isn't the same guy, they all say, and nobody knows exactly what it is.
I wonder if it was when the addiction kicked in, when it started.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Who the fuck knows? Because he was doing shit. I mean, they were just doing drugs and drinking and all. Who knows, man? Or maybe he got hit in the head.
Maybe
a good shot. And those guys used to do fucking hardcore shit to each other. So, I mean, he could have very easily got a certain blow to the head that altered him a little bit, but we don't know. We're never sure. And now he's dead, so who fucking cares? That's Crime and Sports. That is Dirty Dick Slater, a.k.a. The Rebel, a.k.a. Dirty Dick Slater.
Yeah.
A.k.a. Dirty Dick Darrell, Dingus, Dodge, Datsun, and Daihatsu, and Defunct Daewoo. Of Delray Beach.
Yes.
Excuse the best cars Detroit has to offer right here in Delray. So thank you guys for that and listening to that and everything. If you like the show, there's a way to tell us about it that helps us out a lot.
Absolutely.
You can get on Apple Podcasts, the purple icon, iTunes, whatever the fuck it is, and give us 5 stars. Tell us, doesn't matter what you say, you have to write something. Just tell us you're following instructions, following directions. I know it takes 30 seconds to sign in, but you know how long it took to put all this shit together? It's easy. Just do that. If you want to do more, you can do that. You can go to shutupandgivememurder.com and you can check out everything we have there, like t-shirts and mugs and bath mats and all sorts of, we have bags now.
Hell yeah.
There's like bags and cool shit. The bags are awesome. Sarah got one. It's dope. She got one of the Shut Up and Give Me Murder ones.
Great.
That looks like the Rock of Love logo.
Rad.
It's cool as fuck. Some new shit coming out too on there. New stuff always going up. And also you can get your tickets to live shows.
Please do.
Live shows, Small Town Murder all over the country. Tampa and Orlando, you guys are up first in the middle of July here. But October 19th, Phoenix, Arizona, CB Live. Live Crime and Sports.
You're damn right.
And it's going to be a wrestler too, guys. It's going to be New Jack, who's probably got the craziest story of any wrestler out there. And it's going to be a fucking crazy show, and we're going to have so much fun. So get your ass there. We don't know how many more or if we're going to do more live Crime and Sports. So I don't care if you got to come in like Cannonball Run on something that floats on on one of those planes that you pedal. I don't care what you do. Get here for it. It's going to be that good. We promise.
One of those Florida fan boats.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, right up through the desert. You can fucking do it. It'll work the same way.
Come down the I-10 on that piece of shit.
Desert, swamp, same shit. So do that. Come see us there. Also, things you can do, follow us on social media so you can get an up-to-date of when tickets go on sale and other shit that we do. You can do that very easily. Social media is at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, and it's at Small Town Murder on Instagram. You can follow everything there. We post the Crime and Sports stuff there also. And if you want to be an even bigger hero, if you want to be like one of these people we're going to discuss, these people really are, we say that and it's not a fucking joke.
Right.
They keep us going. This is a free show. You don't have to pay us money for the show. These people go, God damn, quality show every goddamn week, all this time, and they put time into it. I'm gonna fucking throw these guys a couple bucks, and they do it, and that's the lifeblood of the show. That's what makes this show a thing.
Right.
Without that, it would be hard to do this goddamn show. It takes up too much time to do for nothing. And so you guys, just thank you for everything you do. If you want to be one of our producers, you can do that excessively easily over at patreon.com/crimeinsports, or over at PayPal. You can use our email address, which is crimeinsports shutupandgivememurder.com, and both of those are available as links directly from shutupandgivememurder.com.
That is true.
It's all in one. So without further ado, Jimmy, I would like you to give me this list, and it better include Dirty Dick Daryl Dingus right now. Hit me.
This week's executive producers are Clay Thorson, who lost his pug this week. I'm really sorry about man. That. Rest in peace, Gonzo. Jordan Bennett, thank you very much, Jordan. Bridget Decker, Amy Spicer, and happy birthday, Susanna Platt. It was her birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
For her birthday,
thank
she
you.
wanted to give us a gift.
Wow, that's amazing.
Sweet.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday.
Sonny Johansson, Ryan Kleinjan, Robin McGrail, Pat Fox Leonard, Callie Shinkunis, Mike, David Salazar, who donated twice, both ways. Thank you, Mike.
Wow, thank you.
Or David, Jesus. Anthony Canella, Ian with no last name, Carell Edja, Michael Bustamante, Savvy Cortez, Gary Howard again. Thanks, Gary. Peyton Meadows, Joshua Smith, Kira Bai, Meredith Ottery, Darwin Huron, Jesse Pitts had a new baby. Thanks
congrats.
for your donation, Jesse. You're a good dude. Brendan Abels, Zach Cloud, Emmanuel Christian, Kelly Higby, Nikki Waterman, Steve Schnell, Edward Kaczynski, Mark Vasquez, Damian Barney. Wait, no, I think that's wrong. That might be it. Damn it. May Ringstad, Aaron.
You're not sorry.
Aaron Cerati, Hannah Pratt, Emma Banner, Michael McGuire, and then Hannah Pratt actually donated in memory of Brett Henke, who he died, but he was a big fan of both of our shows.
Oh.
And that bums me out to have one less listener, too.
Yeah, that totally sucks.
I like having people listening to, all our fucking
I like
bullshit.
them to not be dead.
I like when they dig it. Thanks.
Yeah.
And rest in peace, Brett. Richard J. Thompson, Adam Udani, Melissa Tharp, Steph with no last name, Amanda Berrigan, Zach Taylor with an X. Do you want to guess if that's
Zach Taylor with an X?
With an X. Zach with an X.
It doesn't fit in there.
No, it doesn't. It's XAC.
No, it's not.
Zach, your mom hates you, Zach.
Jesus Christ. Poor kid. Everything's like, no, Zach I know.
I get it. My mom loves Xanax and white wine.
Yeah, trust me. I fucking understand.
Tiffany Bourne. Haley Ellis, Linda with no last name, Holly Arnold, Jeremy Doan and Jeremy Phillips, Anthony Burton, Justin Sarr, Sutton Marvin.
Justin. We love Justin.
We do.
Justin's my boy.
Is it Marvin
Thank
Sutton
you,
or Sutton Marvin? It came through as Sutton Marvin. That's fucking Jesus.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. Whenever they put that commonated name, when they put the then his name
commonated?
Right.
That's definitely a new term. I've never heard that one before. Is your name commonated? Yes.
Retta Ekstrom, Savannah Cortez, Courtney Michelle, Camille Mendez, Eraser? No, Fraser Smith.
It's a more normal name than Eraser. That's first name.
I don't know. Alexander Dolezal, Mark Young, Michael Stepanek, yes. Eliza Grammung, Cynthia Munford, Martina Liluanga. Liwu Longa.
Yeah, Martina. We know Martina.
San Francisco.
Our San Francisco girl.
She's terrific. Nicholas Kreider, Sarah with no last name, Jude Kendall, Mark Protrowski. Yeah, Protrowski. Aubrey Warminski, Panther Milk, Maddie Timmy or Timey. Chris Ross and the North donated.
Hey, Chris Ross and the North. Good sense of humor on those guys.
If you go to their Facebook page, you can find them all over the fucking North. They are everywhere.
They're doing well.
Victoria Stern, delusional. I don't know. Victoria Stern is not delusional. It's somebody named Delusional.
Okay.
Tina Russell,
That's
Ricky Bryant, Ashley Vio, Julie Hulen, David Albury, Justin Miller again. Thanks, Justin. Algina Huber, Ricky Bryant. I said that. Julie Hulen. I said that. Chris Glenn, Victoria Houts, Marissa Cardenas, Donna Basingwaith, Carmen. Oh boy, Carmen Mitochondria. No. Marchiandra.
Hey,
I think
that's good.
Carl Doyle
Sounds
and
good.
Trace
like
Childs, and of course all of our Patreon supporters. You guys really make this show work. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
It's true.
Hey, fuck, man. Yeah. You guys are the best.
You're
the
real.
Fucking best.
Thank you.
We appreciate the shit out of you. Also, if he's still listening, because I know he listens, my little brother Eric, it's his birthday as we're recording today. Happy birthday. He's 32 years old and just had a child.
Yeah, a new father.
He's a new father. He's got married to his child and a house and all this shit.
Enjoying life.
He's doing great.
Smiling all the time.
Good fucking dude. Jesus. So congratulations and happy birthday.
Yeah.
And from everybody out there. And with that said, man, it's been a blast as usual. And we're going to come back next week. Guess what? It'll be another crazy fucking story.
Sure.
As it always is. Live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.